All right, a very good morning, everybody, from the flight deck. Once again, welcome to another Twitch live stream here, live on Twitch with Captain Nabs. It's a pilot's life. We are flying another leg of a pilot's life, chapter 2. And as you can see, we are still sporting the JetBlue Airbus A320. We haven't been able to get our hands on the 321 yet. Fingers crossed that it's going to come out before the next season premieres. I don't think it's going to come out quickly due to the delays that happened that were announced last week. But I'm still hoping that it's going to come out sometime in the next several months, anyways, and probably before we finish, hopefully, season 11 and move on to season 12. And maybe we'll spend a good portion of season 12 flying the 321 instead of the 320. But in the meantime, this is what we've got, and this is what we're dealing with. And as always, there I am as well. Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the stream. As you can see, we are just about ready to go here. And for those of you that can't quite figure out where we are, or don't recall from last week, or didn't read the title at the top of the screen, there's lots of clues. Lots of clues to where we are today. Today we are sitting in New York's LaGuardia Airport here. I bring this across there, you can see it. We are in New York's LaGuardia Airport, and we are heading down to New Orleans, Louisiana, down on the bayou. We're going to have ourselves a good little trip down there. It's a little bit shorter than the last stream to Denver and back, only 1,000 miles basically to get to New Orleans. So just a little over two and a half-ish hours of flying time to get us down to New Orleans. So yeah. We're going to hop in the flight deck and get this thing started. Before I even bother to do that, I'm going to do the one thing I haven't done yet, which is fire up my Fenix to GSX. And it should be running there now. I hate when I can't see the window for it, so give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull up the window. Alright, so we've got our Fenix to GSX going here. Here it is. It's slowly trying to connect itself, and for some reason it's not establishing a SIM Connect connection. That's weird. I haven't seen that before. That could be annoying if it doesn't want to work, and I may have to restart it. Bah humbug. Because it's been a very useful little tool to have the last little while. I've really enjoyed having it. The fact that it's not working here. Connection not established, waiting for retry. That is a bit weird. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next step, which is to hop into the flight deck and just make sure the airplane's going to be running for us here. Looks like we do have our airplane up and running, and the one thing we usually have to do to get the Fenix to GSX working is just load our flight plan here into the tablet, into the aircraft itself, and that usually gets everything up and running for us. But it has not established a connection with SIM Connect, which is weird. Makes me think I want to just do a quick reset of it. So let me just do this really quickly here. And I'm just going to restart the app itself, because that's the first time it's ever not established a connection on its own very quickly. I may even just shut her down and start her up again. 1 second, guys. We're just going to try and get this to work. If not, we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way, but such a useful tool. I'll be very disappointed if it doesn't want to work today. And this time, it worked. So if I go back in here, go back to my screen there you go. Now it's starting all services. For whatever reason, it got a little glitch there, but now we got all green across the top and all the various connection states. And now it's going to start by putting on the bridge and everything else for us. So resetting everything, resetting the EFB, doing all the stuff it's got to do, calling the jetway. Here it comes. So this is working. Good. That was weird that it didn't want to work the first time around there, because that was the first time I've ever seen it not want to work the first time around. So basically, they're going to do their thing. We're going to do our thing. So we're in the flight deck, and we're basically we're the way we would be normally if we kind of came down in mid-morning to a plane that's already flown today, which is usually the ground power's on, but the batteries and everything else are off. And you can meet our first officer of the day. I don't know what we're going to call her. We'll call her Michelle, I guess. Name her after the Beatles song, as if there wasn't more than one Beatles song about a woman, but so hop in the flight deck, and the very first thing we got to do is, of course, just check the battery voltage, just get those batteries on, and get those IRSs aligning. This takes about 7 minutes, and not much else can happen until it's done. So we need to get that done. The other things we could do, of course, is just make sure that the lights are on, prepared for the walk around, lights on, park brakes on, and check the fluid levels. And let's actually just turn the crew oxygen on as well. And then we can check and validate that the crew oxygen is good, the engine oil is good, and the hydraulics are all good. Good. I like it. All right. So they're ready to go. The one thing we're going to do as well is just make sure we initialize the IRSs, and then we can start this whole system here. Actually, what we can do as well is this. Let's start setting up.
Roger.
All right. So let's do FMGC. If we haven't already, swap the databases to clear out anything from the previous flight plan. And then we can go to the init page and just set up our basic flight details. So today's flight is called JetBlue 2119, New York to LaGuardia down to New Orleans. And we are going from, as I said, KLGA to KMSY. And IRS initialization, and make sure that this happens on the correct coordinates. So again, depends on your operator, but our company's reading of the Airbus SOPs is to use the airport coordinates, not the aircraft coordinates. Or not the gate coordinates, but the airport coordinates. So 4046.6 by 7352, pardon me, 7352.4, and we align on that reference point at the top there, LGA. Introduce a slight bias error at the beginning, but that's for some reason the way our Airbus SOPs are written. I'm not sure why, but that's the way they're written. So as you can see, we've got the animated FO again today. I've switched it up. Today we're using the animated female FO. As I said with Dana Michelle, she's going to have the artificial female voice, and I really do hate these artificial voices. I really do, because everyone's like, oh, they sound so good. I'm like, they really don't. They really sound like artificial voices, and like the one that really kind of bugs me a little bit about the Fenix and with the artificial voices, and I don't know if you guys noticed this on the last stream, but when you are after landing, instead of saying decel for deceleration, it says decel. It's spoilers, reverse green, decel, and I'm like, what's decel? Decel, like as in deceleration, because that's the call. But and if you get real people saying it, usually they say it correctly, but you get these artificial voices and they just, you know, they try to read these words. Yeah, that bugs me. I'm sorry, it does. And I have to listen to a lot of these artificial voices. Almost all of our training uses artificial voices, and I hate it. I want to volunteer to just be the person who reads the training material for the training videos, because I hate the artificial voices so much. All right, anywho, let's see here. Okay, so that's aligning. It's got about 6 minutes till it aligns. While we're waiting for that, we can at least check the real-world ATIS and get some takeoff and landing data here. Pulling my ATIS app up on my phone here. And, let's see, maybe it's just me, but I just feel like I look a little dark today. I might just turn my gamma up just a little bit here.
I'm out for the walk around.
I just feel like I look awfully dark there. Alright. Sliding the seat back. You can hear her sliding the seat back, and she's gone for the walk around. Alright. I don't know if she's actually gone. I think she actually does disappear. You don't see her climbing out of the flight deck, but she does actually disappear. Now, one thing I'm trying to get in the habit of doing is opening this bloody door during boarding, because that's what you really do. And it just sort of, it sort of, again, sets the mood a little bit here. Let's see here. LaGuardia ATIS information alpha, 1451, 330 at 11, 10 miles, view at 4,500, scattered 25,000, 7 degrees, -4, 3010. RNAV X-ray 31, departing runway 4, before hold line in use. LaGuardia Class B service available. Birds visiting LaGuardia aircraft, easy only. Departure aircraft contact when it's late 5 minutes prior to push. Alright, so departing the 4s. No, there's only one 4. Departing at runway 4 in LaGuardia today. So let's go ahead and get some takeoff performance for LaGuardia today. So we got runway 4, dry runway. Looks like a dry day out there. I can sync the load sheet. So we got config, flaps optimal, force token, no, anti-ice off. We're going to try it with packs on, see if it comes up with a packs on solution. 74.2 tons for takeoff, 28.5% for the takeoff CUG. We've got the current weather at 7 degrees, QNH 1019, and let's just see if it can come up with some takeoff data here. We might need to do packs off. Toga required. We can do it with packs on, but Toga's required today. So I think this is the first time I've done a Toga takeoff on this stream. But yeah, looks like we do actually have numbers that work with flaps 1. Currently the stab at 0, no flex, and 32, 51, 51. That's a pretty big V1 VR split as well. 31 to 131 to 132 to 151. It's almost a 20 knot VR split. So you got to call out V1. And then about 10 more seconds is going to go by before you hear rotate. So kind of make a mental note of that. There's a big time between the time we can actually safely reject the takeoff and the time we actually lift off the runway. So it's a bit of a big split there. It's not unusual on a shorter runway, 7,000 feet, and we do have a fair amount of weight here under our belts here for 74.2 tons. That's a lot of weight really for this aircraft. So 3 more minutes and then it's aligned and then we can do everything else. All right. It's okay because we'll want the FO back in the flight deck anyways for doing a lot of the setup here. I know some airlines don't really care too much, but the airline I work for, they basically don't want you doing almost anything until both of you are back in the flight deck. About the only thing you can do is you can sort of send off for information in the ACARs. You can send off for NADA, send off for takeoff data, send off for the flight plan. That's about it. Almost everything else, they want both people present in the flight deck, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a good thing. Just turn on a few buttons here. It's a good thing, really. At the end of the day, I like it. I think it makes sure that everybody's on the same page in this business, and that's super important to make sure everyone's got the same vision of what's happening. So if something's not going the way somebody expects, they can speak up right away and say, "Hey, this doesn't conform to my vision of the plan," and we can discuss why. Maybe it's a discrepancy in the way the two people are planning. Maybe. Maybe there's some kind of problem. Maybe somebody's doing something and somebody else hasn't noticed it. Like there's all sorts of things. All right, let's have a look here. Let's just do LaGuardia charts. SID. There should be a LaGuardia 7 departure. It's just a straight up vector SID. But New York, they don't really like RNAV SIDs. There's just too much traffic moving around. They like the variability of being able to vector people. They don't like the radar or the RNAV SIDs. So initial climb refer to inset. Normally I believe we get the Pelham climb. Most of the time we get the Pelham climb off runway 4. But honestly I don't know. I don't know what the criteria are for choosing.
No issues on the walk around.
Perfect. I don't know what the criteria are for choosing the different departures. But anyways, pull up that. We'll make sure we've got that plate ready to go. And yeah. Got 1 minute till IRS alignment, and then we can really start prepping this thing for departure here. Meantime, we'll just have a little look around. I did load up FSLTL, so you will see a handful of airplanes. I did keep the number of airplanes artificially low in FSLTL. I think it is really quite low, but it's New York City. There's a lot of stuff flying around. There's a lot of polygons here in New York City. It's a lot of detail in New York City. I wanted some airplanes to add a sense of realism, but I didn't want to, go overboard with it. All right, looks like the IRSs did finish aligning there. We've got a map on both sides, so let's go ahead and initialize our flight using the ACARs. And for those of you that are wondering, the reason why we don't do the ACARs until the IRS alignment is completed is because there's actually different systems, and depending on what part of the world you're in, there's different ACAR systems, sometimes multiple different systems available. Sometimes the airlines, certain ones cost more, so they'll prioritize certain systems. If the airplane doesn't know where it is, it may call the wrong system and cost the airline more money. It's not a big deal at the end of the day. It's not gonna. It's a cost savings at the end of the day. It doesn't really cost. It doesn't really have a major impact otherwise. GPS primary. All right, so there's the secondary. Let's see here. Secondary is going from LaGuardia down to MSY. Big E Copes. That looks pretty reasonable, so let's go ahead and activate that, and we'll recheck it once. Check takeoff data. We will. AOC secondary flight plan uplink checked. All right, you're ready to start with that overhead flow. All right, so nothing on the door panel. No white lights. No white lights. No white lights. CDR test. And again, I hope the audio balance is good for everybody. If it's not, please let me know. We're going to say it's not the first flight of the day. And fuel. Looks like fueling is done as well. So we've got a tiny bit of fuel in the center tanks, 200 kilos. If it's less than 200 kilos, we don't turn the center tank pumps on for takeoff. Since it is 200 kilos on the money, we'll leave them on. Alright, batteries. And apparently this is something that is going to change, is that we're going to go to first flight of the day for the battery check. So it used to be an every flight kind of check, but apparently we only want to trigger it once a day, not every single flight. Alright, so batteries are good. Generator faults are okay at this time. Power's on, generator faults. These should usually be down a little bit more. Everyone likes it cool in the air, in the cabin when they're flying. And the APU bleed. Oh, she fired up the APU already, huh? Oh, okay, I didn't even realize she fired up the APU. Pack 2 off to save a little bit of money. Strobe's on auto navs. She's already fired up that APU. Probably a little bit early,
Hi,
but anyway.
the security and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Alright, nothing too exciting on there. I forget, what did I say the altimeter was here? 3010. Three zero one zero 3010. Set 3 times. Alright. 3010 is set. Alright. 100. We got the viewers on, flight directors on. Alright, that all looks good. No flags on any of the screens here. 3010, that looks erect and good. 712.7. Let's see here. Seatbelts, no smoking, park, brake, TCAS, standby, company message, AP bleed. That's all fine. And his skid is on. And 11.8. Let's get Unicom going, since I don't believe we got any ATC online right now, unless I missed it, but I don't think there is just yet. Fingers crossed, though. It's early, it's a weekday, but we get some people in New York who obviously have time off during weekdays. That sounded super loud to me, but I think I have this on the wrong feed here. Hold on one second. Yeah, that's feeding directly into my headset and not through the stream, so let me just change that. All right. Because there was a Unicom call there. It was kind of fuzzy, but at least that prompted me to check and say, hey, why does that not sound right? All right. All right, we got one FT2, 3010 inches, 20 feet, 3010 inches, 20 feet, 3010 inches, 20 feet. It's very reasonable for LaGuardia, and the heading looks like 180, 180, and 180, 180. Perfect. All right, let's get working in the box here, get this thing all set up, and I should have here, I think this is it, a sim brief panel as well, so I can see what I'm doing. All right, and we're going to go back to the aircraft status page to start. So the I didn't even look to see if that was transmitting properly. The CFM 56.5 Bravo engine's on an A320 with a current database until the end of the month, 29th November. Performance factor of +2. Arm it first. Can't change it until you arm it. Performance factor of +2. Alright, and the initialization for our flight for JetBlue 2119 from LaGuardia to New Orleans. Alternate is Little Rock. Cost index of 5. We can probably bump that up if we have enough fuel as we get going. I did pack a whole lot of extra fuel because it's supposed to be a really nice day for flying today, but hopefully once we get airborne we can increase our cost index a little bit. -45 for the temperature. It sounds very reasonable, and a trope of 52.7, that's pretty close anyways. Departing LaGuardia, as we mentioned in the ATIS, departing 4, we're just going to do no SID. It's going to be the straight up LaGuardia 7, just flying the heading. So insert that. And at the far end for New Orleans, we've got the Monster 1 SJI transition and expecting runway 11 for arrival. So we'll put ILS 11 in there for now. Monster 1 SJI. ILS 11, Monster 1 SJI. No approach VATS. And insert that, and let's just have a quick look at our flight plan here. So first fix on the flight plan is Biggie, so basically it's just runway heading 045. So we got Biggie, Q75 as far as Brosk, so you can see the Q75 in white there, and then as far as Brosk, which is apparently a long way down, it's most of the way there, there's Q75 Brosk, and actually we climb to flight level 360, and then we still stick with Brosk, or stick with Q75 all the way to GSO, which is the next fix. Then it's direct Berg, Q22, Catlin, Q56 to SJI. So I see it doesn't quite add up there. So let's have a quick little look-see here in the flight plan. And the only reason it doesn't really add up is I think it's direct between those two. So it's not showing the airway. Let's just go zoom down to the far end of our, okay, oh, it's a long way down there. There's Catlin and this is low level, I need high level. And it looks like Q56 from Catlin to SJI is just direct, so that's it. So it's fine that Catlin direct SJI, and then that's the Monster 1 arrival. A little discon and an ILS to runway 11 in New Orleans. So that all looks good. RadNav auto tune is fine for a departure today. Let me go back and check this. Do we have any DME? Nothing. No, it's the 1-3 departures that have a DME readout required. So yeah, we don't need anything on the RadNav page. Secondary, we'll straight copy it. I'm inclined to put JFK as a diversion point because the runways here are awfully short. If we have a major failure, we might not want to come back here. So we'll do like 4 right in JFK. So new destination K. So this is just our Hail Mary if the engine catches fire on departure. We've got something. So we'll do an ILS to 4 right, no star, return, and Seatil Abbey JFK 4 right. So that's fine. And speaking of nothing going wrong, I just want to make sure that random failures is on. We got high chance of random failures and all. Not that high is that often, but okay. Init page Bravo. Taxi fuel of 0.2 is very reasonable. Route reserve of 0. Alternate fuel. I got the other flight plan today, but it still works. 2.6. And final reserve of 1.2. And I see that I wrote that wrong. 2.6. Not 22.6, 2.6. There we go. ZFW. We should have a message from company here with our preliminary, if not our final weight and balance. So let's check the newest one here, 1500. ZFW, it looks like 60.6. 60.7 even. 60.7. And the 0 fuel weight to CG 31.5. 31.5. Block fuel, we got 12.7 loaded. And that's what we needed, 12.7. 12.7 kilos loaded. Let's see here. So that gives us takeoff weight of 73.2. Swinging back up here for a second, we had planned 74.2, so that's within reason. Generally within 2 tons. As long as you're not over, if you're under by up to 2 tons, it's acceptable to continue using the same weather. Wind component minus 25. And let's just have a little calculation here and see if this matches. So what we're looking for. 245, 7.3, 244, 7.2. Very, very close. Very much within a reasonable margin of error. Our extra fuel, We've got 0.5 and 0.7, that's 1.2, plus the contingency is 1.6, which is exactly what we've got. 49 minutes, 1.6. Perfect. So we're going to zero out the wind and then send for the data link winds. Wind request, perf page. Alright, so this is always awkward, but let's do the best we can here with this. So takeoff runway 04 with no shift. Flaps 1, up 0, no flex. So we have to do it with a flaps 1 takeoff. Flaps 1, up 0, and no flex, no shift. And speeds 32, 51, 51. And actually, while we're at it, what were the other 1030 across the bottom? 132, 151, 151, and 1030 across the bottom for the thrust reduction, acceleration, and engine out acceleration. Alright, green dot speed 232. We'll carry that forward into the climb phase. We'll pre-select it there for climb. Go back to the wind page and just verify everything's blue, blue, and blue. That means everything's inserted. Wind data uplinks good. Alright, back over to the prog page. Just for reference, I'll put LGA on here. We're half mile away from it now. The optimal is 33,
guys,
the max
here
36.
is the load sheet for you.
We're at 34. Thank you.
No problem. Have a safe flight.
Alright, 34, 33, but 36 is the max, that's fine. And drifts on our IRS is 0.2 across the board, that's very reasonable. Alright. We got no ATC online still, so we're not going to grab a clearance. We're just going to leave a squawk code of 2000. We're going to assume LaGuardia 7 off for flight plan route. And let's just have a quick look at that as well before we do the briefing here. So the LaGuardia 7, 4, we'll say they're calling the Pelham climb, which is just basically straight ahead 040. So let's pre-select 040 for departure. And all we gotta do is pull heading once we get to 400 feet. Alright, Pelham climb on heading 044 to 500 feet, then left turn to heading 040 and maintain 5,000. Alright, so actually what we'll do is we'll do 44 for now, the initial climb, and then we'll turn left to 040 once we get to 500 feet. Alright, what else we got going on this morning? Alright, so we got that. The taxi is pretty straightforward here in LaGuardia for runway 4. We're here at gate 45 here in the corner. We're going to push back into the alley, and then it'll be Alpha Echo Bravo to the Bravo hold line for runway 4. And yeah, I think that's about it. Pre-flight checklist. What is it called? For crying out loud, I can never remember what it's called here. Cockpit preparation checklist.
Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Fuel quantity.
12,700 kilograms.
Seat belts.
On.
Adheres.
Nav.
Barrow ref.
3010 inches. 3010 inches set.
3010 set. Cockpit preparation checklist completed.
Alright, go ahead. Take off the external power. Are you ready for the departure briefing?
Go ahead.
Alright. So technical status of the aircraft. The aircraft is fully functional today. We're going to hope something breaks on the way, but as of right now, everything is fully functional. No TAMs is the one thing I didn't check yet for departures out of LaGuardia. So let's just zoom way down the list here to LaGuardia, no TAMs. Alright, there's our arrival, no TAMs. There's a departure, no TAMs. Okay, so Centerline marking is not standard. Airport closed overnight. Migratory bird activity. SIDS. LaGuardia 7. Takeoff 13. That again does not affect us. LaGuardia 7. Park departure. We're going out over Biggie, so that does not affect us either. Alright. I think that's it. No TAMs, nothing affecting us. So today we're doing the LaGuardia 7 departure off runway 4. Let's see here. This is for the New York LaGuardia Airport. No special notes at the top here. Radar and DME is required for 13. Speed restriction for us filed over Big E. Do not exceed 250 knots until 11,000 feet. So we'll have to remember to pull speed and fly select speed till we get to 11,000 feet. We don't want to accelerate prematurely. Takeoff minimums runway 4 standard. And for the Pelham climb, it's as published on the plate or so otherwise signed by ATC. The top altitude of 5,000. 5,000 feet is set. Let's see here. No noise abatement in LaGuardia. Company pages. Let's see here. It's not a mountainous airport. Level of service is not an issue today in LaGuardia, and engine out will just continue per the SID straight ahead, essentially, if the engine fails after departure. Performance we've got in the box this morning for the left seat departure off runway 4 in LaGuardia with no takeoff shift. Flaps 1 with 0 trim. We've got Toga takeoffs on no flex specified, V1-132, VR-151, V2-151, standard transition 18,000, 1030 across the bottom for the thrust reduction, acceleration, and engine out acceleration altitudes. 232 is the green dot speed. It's carried forward for the climb. RadNav, nothing special on the RadNav page. It's going to be a managed. It's going to be actually a selected departure with the heading mode selected shortly after departure, and we'll get the autopilot on quickly just to give ourselves the ability to fly the airplane and focus on flight path control and getting the aircraft established on course towards Big E as soon as possible, and do not exceed 250 knots till at least 11,000 feet unless otherwise specified by ATC. Right now, no ATCs online. Yeah, that's about all I got. Threats for today. LaGuardia is always busy airspace, and it is a relatively short runway. Hence, we've got the Toga takeoff. We've got the flaps 1. We can do it with a PAX on. We did get a PAX on solution, so that's fine. We do have this sufficient for performance. Expect a large V1 VR split, and that reminds me to give her the VR V1 split. So 132, 151, 151. Weather's good. Radar's not required. Pushback required. Config 1+F. Thrust, Toga, threats, we'll say none. Takeoff runway is 4. Flex temp, there is no flex temp. We're going up to 34,000. Thrust reduction altitude 1,000. Alright, and that's all good. So now she's going to make the right call. So we're going to expect a good big V1 VR split. Don't be surprised by it. It is a short runway. Once that V1 happens, we are committed to flight. Let's see. We'll make sure we make the appropriate VATSIM traffic calls because it is busy, high-density airspace. And that's about it. That's all I've really got for threats. No hotspots on the taxi out that I can think of. The weather is actually looking very nice today. So that's all I've really got. Any questions?
No questions.
All right, so let me just see here. We are very close to the end here. Just fast forward that by 1. And we can start configuring this thing for our departure here. So we got the external powers turned off. Everything is just about ready here. I think we're good to go. Flights, servers connect status, okay. Flight simulators connected, pre-flight stage, that's good. I think we know everything that's happening here, really. So let's go ahead and start calling that tug over. Basically, we're calling the ground crew at this point. You guys just about ready down there? Looks like the doors are all closed up.
Hey guys, all packs are on board. Are we clear to close?
Cleared to close.
Thanks. Let me know if you need anything.
Oh my god, she understood it today. Every other time I've done it, she hasn't understood it. Alright, so take the jet bridge away and then we'll be good to go. Let's just see what the status is here. Did I never start the boarding? Oh. I swear I started it. But I guess not. So it's still boarding right now. It's not going to be ready to depart for another minute. So we're going to have to just sit here and talk. It's okay. That's the way you want to be in the aviation business. You can hear them now. Oh, son of a bugger. I thought we had done that already. $175 too. This is going to take 10 minutes.
Hello. Thank you.
Is it going to let me do it? Or is it going to say boarding still active? Okay. As I swear we started it already, so what we're going to do is we are going to mess with this a little bit here. Force GSX to kind of restart and resync here. We'll just go straight to the may well have messed with my with my Fenix to GSX for the first time. It did not like that. There we go. I might have to kill the Fenix to GSX to get this to work because it really is stuck here in the idea that it's supposed to be boarding only. No, I think I may have really messed it up now by trying to bypass that. Because now it really does not want to progress to the next state. Yeah, I think I messed it up there, so give me 1 second. Let's just see if we can't fix it. I think we may have to just skip the Fenix to GSX for the rest of this departure, which is a bit of a shame, because I really like it. I think it's a really useful system, but obviously I messed something up, so. So basically what I did was a restart of both the app and GSX. See if I can get GSX to eventually figure out that I want it to come in over here. Wow. Come on. Come on, GSX. You can do it. I believe in you. Wow, I completely killed GSX, didn't I? Alright. I think I have to kill Fenix to GSX here altogether and just try it without. Alright, we're trying here. Okay. I'm going to try one more time to launch GSX. After this, I may have to give up. Come on. I know you're restarting. I know it's hard on you. Alright, we may have to find a different solution here. Ah, there we go. Alright, prepare for pushback and departure. Well, it's annoying. Alright, so I've determined that they do not play together nicely. It looks like it's still waiting on something. In fact, it's taking so long to load, makes me think it's never going to happen. So let's just connect a tug. We're going to do everything the old-fashioned way this time around. I've done it this way. I did it this way for a long time. It's okay. We can get by. There goes the bridge. That's a good sign. Alright, so let's go ahead and disconnect ground power. Ground services. Goodbye GPU. I don't think you can even give me a tug, is it? Alright, we're going to have to use our imagination today, unfortunately. So, duly noted, don't mess with Fenix GSX. Because it seems like that is completely effed up GSX here. It won't even load the menu anymore. Alright, so let's do this. Before start checklist.
Set. Parking brake.
Set.
Takeoff speeds and thrust.
V1 132, VR 151, V2 151. Flexing toga.
V1 1 3 2 VR 1 5 1 V2 1 5 1. Windows.
Closed.
Beacon.
On.
Before start checklist completed.
Alright, I'm going to just give this one more try. Just going to try one more time to restart GSX here because I don't think it's going to work. Alright, so one last time we're restarting GSX. If this doesn't work, I'm going to give up on it here. So let's do this. Let's give it one last try here, but I don't think it's going to... I feel like it's not going to work. I feel like I'm just grasping at straws here. Yeah, I don't think it's going to load, so... Alright,
Set.
so we'll say brakes... Alright, ready for pushback. Brakes are off, ready for pushback, and delaying engine start until advised. Alright, and... push this, do this the old-fashioned way, so I'm just using my good old, and I love it because it's simple. It lacks the interactivity because I have to do all the work, but pushback helper, such a simple tool, but it can be very useful at times. Just push back into the alley here. Just imagine that there's a tug there pushing us back because this is obviously not working well for me today. Oh, some days just doesn't pay. Starting engine 2.
Okay.
Not a bad pushback for doing it just with a couple clicks. Brakes are set. You can remove the tug. Close down my pushback helper. Hopefully when we get to New Orleans, it'll work a little better. I'm hoping, but I feel like Fenix to GSX system broke GSX at the same time, which could be annoying because now we're not going to have a Marshall in New Orleans either, are we? Ah.
Set.
Starting engine 1.
Okay.
Annoying. Very annoying. I don't think there's any way to reset it, though. So the engine starts happening. I'm trying to restart Fenix to GSX again in the hopes that it will start. It seems to be having an issue with SimConnect again. I brought up the window again, and again it's just endlessly trying to connect to SimConnect without... Okay. Now it seems to have fixed it again. So here's what I'm looking at here. Found audio session. Current state is taxi out. Starting on runway, moving ground equipment. Okay, so it does look like it kind of knows what we're doing. I'm hoping maybe when we get to New Orleans, it'll be able to at least activate GSX now. It seems to be connected to Fenix GSX. All right. Anyways, that's a problem for later, I guess. All right. After start. We got 2 good starts. See, I wasn't even paying attention to the start whatsoever. Why did you put the anti-ice on? That's stupid. That must have been what she thought I was saying when she heard me talk about stuff. I feel like there's a couple, 1 or 2 more things here. After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Off.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
.0 nose up set. Set and checked.
Rudder trim.
Neutral.
After start checklist completed.
Clear on the left. Clear left. Clear left
Clear
side.
right side. Clear right side.
New York LaGuardia traffic. JetBlue 2119 is taxiing for departure runway 4 via Alpha Echo Bravo. Alright, there's the famous welcome to New York sign. Big Apple. Alright, and there is some FSLTL traffic here. Oh. Let's actually have a look. Maybe they're taxiing down Alpha, which means we might need to actually defer over to Bravo, because it looks like they might be on Alpha. Okay, we'll taxi Bravo. It can be so complicated too to try and like figure out what these. There are. What am I trying to say here? There are like systematic methods to the way aircraft taxi around these airports, the way taxi routes are assigned, but to try and like automatically generate realistic taxi routes in the sim without actually loading that real world data, that also can be a big challenge. So I'm not overly concerned when people are having a hard time, or when you know, simulation software is having a hard time with it. It's a nice looking C-series. Wheels are stuck in the ground, but anyways. Brake check. Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Flight control check.
Ready. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral.
Taxi checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flap setting.
Config 1 plus F.
Config 1 plus F. Radar and predictive wind shear system.
On and auto.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
ECAM memo.
takeoff, no blue.
Taxi checklist completed.
I'm going to disregard the cabin check. Maybe it's me, but the screens seem to be running awfully slow today. I hope I haven't, like, blown up my frame rate with Phoenix and GSX here. If it's, like, stuck with, like, Open Sim Connect sessions here. We'll see how it looks once we get going, too. If I need to, I can also remove the FSLTL traffic. We can also do that. So there are ways to kind of improve the performance again if it's really that bad. So we're going to go back to webcam.
It is our policy that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times while seated.
Alright, and there's the cabin, there's the takeoff, no blue, everything's green. I don't see anybody on approach for 04 at this point. Let's see here, somebody on the TCAS?
In an emergency,
No,
lights
doesn't
will
look like anybody's on the
illuminate the
TCAS,
aisle.
so we're good.
The cabin is pressurized. If there is a loss of cabin pressure, a panel will open and oxygen masks will appear. Remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and pull a mask towards you to start the flow
There's
of
the Marine Air
oxygen.
Terminal way over there.
Oxygen will be flowing to the mask.
It's a very compact little airport with a lot of stuff. Like,
Cover your nose and mouth with the mask.
Field Air hasn't done a half-bad job, but there's certain aspects of it that are just kind of, again, half done and need to be vastly improved upon. And I feel like Field Air's never going to do it. They've turfed this airport out into the ether, and they will probably never touch it again. So we need a better developer to come along and say, hey, this is a fantastic airport, iconic. It needs an iconic scenery. Alright, there's the ILS line. We're not waiting at the ILS line. We're waiting at the Bravo 4 line. I don't see anybody on final, so I think we're good to go.
Cabin lights will now be turned off. Reading light buttons are located above your seat. Thank you for your attention.
Alright, it sounded like that was something else was pretty loud, but anyways. Runway entry procedure.
Takeoff runway confirmed. Approach path clear of traffic. Cabin crew be seated for takeoff.
New York LaGuardia traffic. JetBlue 2119 taking position runway 4 for departure. Left turn out Biggie. Lineup checklist.
Takeoff runway.
Runway 4 confirmed.
Runway 04 confirmed. TCAS.
TARA. TARA.
PAX 1 and 2.
On.
Lineup checklist completed.
Alright.
Ready.
Takeoff. Mantoga SRS runway.
Thrust set. 100 knots. Check. V1. Rotate.
Kennedy traffic KLM 643 is on the over at the Kennedy VOR, turning south now to join the ILS. Sorry, joining the ILS 31 right, Kennedy
You're
traffic.
Up.
Gear up.
Flap 0.
Speed checked. Flaps 0.
Alright. wasn't a terrible departure, but I think there's definitely something going on with SimConnect because some of that stuff was very laggy. The feedback did not get to my first officer. She didn't call the acknowledge the takeoff call till we were through 100 knots. So there's something weird and laggy with the FO. But anywho, we're gonna go direct Biggie, and we're gonna just keep carrying. Keep carrying on. Direct Biggie. There's Nav. Nav. Speed Alt Star.
Standard cross-checked. Passing flight level 048.
Set flight level 330. Set 3,000 feet.
Now.
All right. There's 34,000 feet set. Thrust, climb, nav. Alt blue. We're in the turn to Biggie. We're accelerating again. Stop touching buttons.
Roger.
All right. We made it off the ground. There's something glitchy with the sim today. It just does not seem to want to. All right, let's go ahead and accelerate. I'm just going to do it manually because normally I go to manage speed, but we are going to want selected speed because we want to maintain 2 knots to 11,000. We don't want to automatically accelerate at 10,000. So there's LaGuardia there. Yeah, it took us. Yeah, there's something going on now, and I wonder if this is something I did because I broke the. I tried to force the FSX to Fenix to GSX. To restart, and I wonder if I kind of broke it, but I feel like there was something wrong with the sim from the initial run because the first time I ran Fenix to GSX, it didn't, what am I trying to say here? It didn't sim connect the first time. I had to restart it, and sim connected just fine the second time. So there's something a little wonky going on with it, and so I don't think it's just me. I think there's something, oh, there's 10,000 already. Wow, I'm fast. Seatbelts off. She's definitely slow to react for some reason here, so I don't know what's going on, but there's something wrong, something weird with the way the sim is running today, so sometimes it's just the way it happens. Still a nice view of Manhattan as we head northbound, north and southwestbound there. So now we're through 12,000. Now we're good to accelerate. So there's managed speed. That'll get us the higher speed there. Let's have a look at our bottom line here. Estimating 6.3 at 1822 in New Orleans. Trying to fuel prediction here. 1822, which is not a terrible time actually. It's a good amount of time. Let's see here. That's a little under 2.5 hours. It's a little over 2.5 hours from now. I still might just bump up this cost index even more because it's in the climb, especially if you're going to bump early. Is time to bump it up because the climb is the biggest place where it makes a difference. If you accelerate to 340 knots in the climb, you're going to get there a lot faster. The cruise is still pretty consistent because the airspeed margins are you're allowed in the cruise from the highest to the lowest possible speed cruise, especially when you get towards the top of the aircraft's current service ceiling. It doesn't allow you a lot of variation in cruise, so it's really the climb and the descent where you can have a lot of variation in speed. You can make up time. So that gives us still an extra 2 tons of fuel in New Orleans, and that cut about 10 minutes off our flight. So we're going to go with that cost index 100. There's Newark Liberty right there. Nice, nice. Farewell, New York. We'll be back again. However, when we return on the next leg, it's not going to be LaGuardia. It's going to be JFK. So we're going to be operating a flight to JFK, and you can just see the runways for JFK off there in the distance. So there's JFK right there. But that's where we're heading on our next leg. We go down to New Orleans from LaGuardia, but then we turn around and we come back to New York's JFK. So yeah, it's turning into one of those mornings though. It's just a glitchy sim today, and every once in a while you get that. And I was talking to somebody last night and just making the same comment, how frustrating it can be. Right in the update, there was an update, that very small update that dropped for the sim the other day, and as soon as the update ran, she said she couldn't even fire up the sim anymore. It crashed the desktop every time she tried to load it into an airport. And I was there kind of chatting, and she spent about at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours, trying to troubleshoot the sim, trying to figure out how to make it work. Whether it was the particular payware scenery, whether it was the aircraft she was trying to load, or the sim itself. And this can be a real pain in the rear end kind of hobby sometimes. And it's so much fun when we can get it to work and everything comes together nicely and clicks together nicely and runs and plays nice. Sadly, there's days where that does not happen, and I've had those days. This quickly seems to be becoming one of those days where things are kind of not playing together nicely the way they normally do. And it's just so frustrating. This can be such a fun hobby, but honestly, it is such a frustrating hobby sometimes too when things do not go the way they're supposed to. And it can be such an ordeal to try and troubleshoot things sometimes. What in particular, because we all tend to throw out so many improvements. All right, standard. Transition set standard. Standard set. Anywho, it can be so challenging sometimes to try and find and diagnose these problems when you try to load a particular scenario and it always crashes in that scenario. Is it the airport? Is it the aircraft? Is there something broken in the sim itself? Is it one of the other add-ons? You think of the number of add-ons you've got in your sim at any given point in time, and even those people who don't buy a lot of add-ons, they tend to get a few here and there, even freeware add-ons. So we're very seldom happy with the base sim, which is fine, but boy, can it be a bear to try and figure out what's going wrong with your sim then when things do go wrong. I have any number of things running right now simultaneously here. Besides, I have the Fenix, I have my animated first officer, I have the FS2 crew running, I have GSX running. You know, I'm running FSU IPC to facilitate the flight tracking. You know, as well as, of course, custom scenery. So I have custom scenery for LaGuardia and JFK behind us there. You know, any number of custom sceneries as well. So any number of utilities running at the same time. I have FSLTL running. I have, you know, I'm generating FSLTL traffic. I have vPilot running, injecting traffic into the sim potentially. So, you know, different libraries of aircraft. I have, you know, at any given point in time, there's dozens of different add-ons that are you know, being utilized by the sim. So any one of them can break in an update and cause grief. So it's and it can be such a frustrating hobby to diagnose. Like, no one wants to go back and reset everything and just uninstall everything. This is one thing that I have to say has actually gotten a little bit better about MSFS versus previous iterations, where basically we just dump everything into the community folder. And I guess it's a bit of a mixed blessing. You know, the fact that you have everything dumped into a community folder, it's very easy to pull individual things out, or even just clear out the entire community folder. Just rename it. Boom. The sim can't find it. No add-on data loaded at all. You've just got the basic sim. You know, and then you can add things back a little bit at a time and see what causes the crash. It can still be an ordeal. The only downside of this is that every time you load the sim, it has to parse that community directory and decide what each folder contains, whether it's scenery that has to be at a certain location in the world, whether it's aircraft models or who knows what. And so restarting the sim takes 15-20 minutes sometimes, I swear. Definitely by the time you've exited, restarted, reloaded your flight, it can be 20 minutes sometimes to get back in there. So troubleshooting, you know, make one tweak, one change, and it takes 20 minutes for you to evaluate if that change had an impact. Even 10 minutes to evaluate if this one change had an impact. It can be a long time to kind of figure out what, don't need that anymore, what's caused the problem and how we're going to solve it. And it can make very frustrating days. You know, you sit down and some days you want to, you know, kind of tweak stuff and install stuff and try new stuff out. But some days you just want to sit down and you just want to relax and just enjoy the sim you've got. And then those are the days that it seems to not want to work. And yet we still keep going back for more. And we don't give up on this hobby, that's for sure. We just keep on going. And then to do a reinstall too. Again, the reinstall is not as bad because you're just installing the sim itself, and then the community folder you can, you know, dump out at your discretion and re-add things in there. But it doesn't have to be like constant. But it's just yeah, it can be such a frustrating experience in this hobby when you want to go and do a flight, you just have a couple of hours, you just want to do something fun and relaxing, and you can't, you just can't. There's so much frustration when something does not load properly, and I had that happen the other night. I've had that happen a couple times now in the last week or two where the sim has just crashed on me. And knock on wood, it's not going to happen today, but you know, where you kind of set up a flight, you depart, and then most of the time it's been pretty early in the flight process. At least the one time it was during the FMS setup, the other time it was shortly after departure, like literally after takeoff. But it was just me doing a GA-FS economy flight, so I wasn't spending all that much time programming, so I didn't feel that bad about it. But I still, like, as soon as it crashes the desktop, I just kind of look at it and I just say, huh, well, I'm not going to try that again. I give up. I'm not gonna waste my time on that again, because I'm just going to get frustrated. I know I'm just going to get frustrated, so I just give up at that point, and I just don't. I don't even try to do it again. But it can be so frustrating, and I feel the pain of everybody who does sit down and try to fly the sim, and then they find the sim doesn't work, and especially after an update. Then, you know, Microsoft pushes an update and it breaks your add-ons, or there's something broken within the update itself. It's such a frustrating hobby some days. You don't even want to. Some days you don't even want to fire up the sim because you're afraid of what's going to break. What am I going to find out that doesn't work now? And I have collected many things over the years, and some of them have been very useful. Like I've got to say, like, honestly, this pushback helper, it's a very simple little app. It's free. It's on flightsim.to, and this is the entire thing right here. It just simply interacts with your sim there through Sim Connect, but you can trigger all the basic ground stuff. It lacks the realism, perhaps, of GSX and you know, making voice calls. Not making voice calls, but also just, you know, hearing voice commands. Hey, okay, release the brakes. Okay, here's where we're pushing to, that sort of thing. But what it lacks in that kind of interactivity and feedback, it certainly makes up for it in its simplicity. It's very simple and easy to use. Just click a button to toggle any of these particular features, throw the tug on, and you can just control which direction you're pushing. It's simple, simple, simple. So it's great to have as a fallback. I like to use GSX. I think it's a more realistic experience, but it's a fallback, so I don't have to reboot the sim if GSX doesn't work. I've got this installed, and it's so simple. It's so easy. I really like it. I've always thought it was a great little tool. We have more realistic alternatives out there, but just as a backup, like I said, as a backup, it's always there on my it's always there in my flight sim folder, and just like I can just run it, and it's so simple, so small, so lightweight. It loads up in a matter of a half a second. Boom, now you're pushing back. At least at the end, you're not screwed, like, you know, when you're trying to do a live stream like this and things stop working. It's like, well, I'm going to reboot the sim now. Do you guys want to watch the sim reboot for the next 15 minutes? Because that's all you're going to see. Yeah, it's good to have that as a backup at the end of the day. So
Traffic.
Oh, for crying out loud. Okay. Alright, and it's opposite direction traffic. It's going below. It's 1,400 feet below us already. That's him there, I think, right there. Now, is that a VATSIM or is that my FSLTL? Curious. It's probably FSLTL because it's early in the day. There's not all that much traffic on VATSIM right now, but I'm just going to look over at my other computer here where hopefully I have. No, for some reason my other computer is not able to. Get anything from VATSPY, so let's try just alright, let's just have a look if I can see where we are here. Southwest, is that us? That's us. I don't think that's a real airplane. I think that's just I think it's just faking it. I think it's just FSLTL working for me, but that's okay. I don't mind FSLTL. I mean, it just adds a little bit of life to this world. There's a little bit of stuff going on out there, so I'm kind of happy with that at least. So we're almost at cruise here. I think my dog wants to go outside, so let's just get leveled off and cruise, and I guess I will let her outside. She's grown a little bit needy. Needs to go outside about every hour. And Not that it needs to. Not really physiological need to, but just wants to. Just really wants to. Alright, this is Philly right here, is it not? Yes, there it is. There's Philly right there. Already passing Philadelphia. That's the Philadelphia airport right there. This is another really interesting airport. A really neat, interesting airport to operate out of because it's just basically two very closely spaced parallel runways. One for departure, one for I could get very, very hectic in there. And there is some good scenery now. That was one that was missing, I think, from the FSX P3D World. There was no really
Philadelphia, Unicom, 2 Sierra Juliet is taxiing parking.
There was never any really good scenery for Philadelphia in the FSX P3D World. It's definitely gotten better now. I think there's 2 different Philadelphias out there. There might even be 3, I think. And
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's an interesting conundrum the developers have of how to figure out if other people are already developing an airport you're thinking about.
We request that you keep the aisles clear to assist the flight attendants.
All right, there's Mach Alt Star.
To fly you efficiently and also for your own safety. Thank you.
And here comes Alt. Shouldn't it be Alt Cruise? What do we put for cruise? .370. That's not right. I was probably meant to type 340 and I didn't even realize I did it. So there's 340 for cruise. There's Mach Alt Cruise. That's a little better. Yeah, 370 is not going to cut it. I didn't even notice it said 370 there. 340. Optimal is at 380 right now. The max of 398. Well, just let it be for now. So just give me 1 second, guys. Just gonna go let that dog out before she barks up a storm, and I'll be right back. All right. Okay, so we are level in cruise here at 340. Let's go ahead and have a look. And the one thing we didn't actually do, and I realize this now, is we never put in the step climb, did we? So we did have a step climb. Where did we have a step climb at? All right, step climb at... where is it here? Step climb to 360 at Brosk. That's right, I remember that now. So let's have a quick look in the box here. Let's see if we can find Brosk. There's Brosk. Step altitudes. All right, so we're going to put 360 at BROSK. Brosk. 360 at Brosk. Insert that. All right, and our ETA is back to 1818 here, just under 1,000 miles to go, 5.3 when we get there, and we only need to get to our alternate Little Rock 3.8, so we got quite a bit of extra there. We got about 1.5 extra still, so that's fine. All right, and the other thing I'm going to do is then we're going to do a quick, oh, I have an ECAM action. Oh, everything looks so purple on your personal video, haha. I know there's something with the filters. You have to adjust the color of the filters so that it properly screens out the background. And you're right, it does kind of make it look a little bit purple. But if I do too much, it should be blue. And I don't know why it really comes in as so purple. I really don't know why. Is that a little more realistic? How about that? Is that better? How about that? That's a little bit better. It's a little bit more blue. Anywho, oh, something happened. Crazy, something actually happened in flight. All right, so the autopilot's still flying. Autopilot 1. I've got 2 FT2. Interesting. So we've got, okay, so I still have control. ECAM actions. Michelle. All right, auto flight FAC 1 fault. FAC 1 off, then on if unsuccessful. FAC 1 off. All right, so FAC 1 off, then on. All right, and there it is. It's faulted. FAC 1 off. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. On. See if that goes away. Alright, I'll start the timer. I'll give that about 30 seconds, but I feel like if it didn't go away within the first 10 seconds or so, that's a permanent fault. So I'll give it about 30 seconds, but I feel like holy Willy Wonka. I feel like this is not going to happen here. I feel like we have a permanent fault here. All right, so we were about to do the cruise check, but yeah, that's 30 seconds. It has obviously not reset, so we're gonna have to go FAC 1 off. All right, and that's it. Clear auto flight. Clear auto flight status. All right, so stop. Stop ECAM. All right, so. Can we do a reset of FAC 1? That's the question. So in the QRH, in the Airbus QRH, there is a list of system resets you can do, and some of them can be done on the ground, some of them can be done in flight, some of them can be done both. So I'm going to pull up my QRH. I've only got it in the digital format in my iPad, but I'm going to pull it up anyways, and let's just see. Do I have the QRH open? No, QRH, show me the QRH. Alright, QRH. And let's go to abnormal emergency procedures, system resets. Alright, so let's go down to flight control, comms, F control, ELAC 1 pitch fault, ELAC 2 pitch fault, aileron servo fault, spoiler fault. That's it. There is no if it doesn't list it there, you're not allowed to reset it in flight. So there is no allowable FAC 1 reset we can do in flight. There are some circuit breakers we could theoretically pull, but you don't want to mess with those. That's how crashes have happened, is by people doing unauthorized resets. So, yeah. So we're going to continue ECAM for now. So status, both PFD on same FAC, Cat 3 single only. We've lost our Cat 3 dual capabilities and our FAC 1. Alright, so for now, the aircraft is still flying. We're just both using data from the same FAC. So you can see we've got 2 FD2 now instead of 1 FD2. Clear status. Or sorry, remove status. Remove status. Alright, ECAM actions are complete. Alright, so first of all, it's decision-making time, so we do have time available to think about this. The aircraft is still flying with the autopilot engaged. It's not a big deal. We have time to make decisions. We don't have to make any snap judgments. And basically, it comes down to one of 3 choices: to go forward, to go sideways, or to go backwards. We do have a loss of one of our major flight control computers. We do have 2 FACs. So the backup FAC is still holding everything together. If we lose the second FAC, we start to have issues. We may lose the autopilot and some other things. But as of right now, the odds of 2 computers failing at the same time without some kind of an external factor, you know, some lightning strike or something like that, pretty small, pretty slim. So I'm going to say it's probably pretty safe to continue. We could go back. We're definitely not even close to the equal time point yet. We've only gone about 100 something miles from our departure point. So we definitely could, in theory, go back, but I don't see any need to at this junction. We can't do a reset, but the airplane's still flying perfectly safely. So I think that going forwards and continuing to our destination is perfectly safe. I think we have more than enough capability to make it. So I don't think we need to diverge just yet or consider going back. But it's definitely something we've got to be a little bit more aware of now. The fact that we've lost one of our FACs, and if the second FAC goes offline, that could become a really bad day. So the only thing we really need to do is we need to just pick who we're going to notify. We're not going to notify ATC at this point. It's not impacting materially the flight. We're just into the redundant backup system, but we're still flying perfectly normally from an external point of view. And so same conclusion with the back end. No need to tell the flight attendants, no need to tell the passengers, unless we end up needing to divert. There's no need to tell them anything, so the only people we need to really tell are companies. So we can go ahead and go into the ATC system and send a snag message to maintenance and say, hey, in flight FAC 1 fault on ECAM, ECAM actions carried out, FAC not reset, and that's it. And ask them to meet us when we get down in New Orleans. The only thing that maybe might influence the decision of whether or not to go forwards or backwards is, at this point, is mostly operational considerations. Do we have maintenance in New Orleans that can potentially deal with this issue, to carry out a more thorough FAC reset, or possibly even have to replace a FAC? That becomes more of an operational issue. From a immediate tactical operational perspective, is the airplane flying safely, and will it continue to fly safely? Yes, absolutely it will. So therefore, we can carry on. Dispatch and maintenance may have a different take on it, and they may ask us to go back because of maintenance requirements. But certainly from a safety perspective, from a tactical immediate operations perspective, we're doing just fine right now. All right, so here goes Washington, D.C. right there. That's Washington, D.C. If you're looking down there, and I don't know how well you guys can see it, but there is Washington Reagan Airport right there, just on the west side of the Potomac. National Mall's right there. And there's Edwards, and Dulles should be straight ahead. Yeah, we're going pretty much right over Dulles. We're flying right down the northeast corridor today. Yeah, so we'd also write the same snag in the book. FAC 1 fault ECAM. ECAM actions carried out, fault not cleared. Something to that effect, and let maintenance deal with it. So hopefully we don't lose the other FAC. If we lose the other FAC, then diversion might become an issue. But again, it also comes down to, like, even if you were to lose the second FAC, you'd lose the autopilot at this point. It's a nice day out here. It really is, honestly. It's a beautiful day. Like, there's nary a cloud in sight. And that's supposed to be pretty much the way it is almost all the way down New Orleans. It was actually, I will say this, it was a little bit of shallow fog this morning in New Orleans, I believe. So it's not to say that it's perfect. So it is something you need to consider in the long run, is can you land in New Orleans, especially if you don't have an autopilot. It looks like the fog is completely cleared out, so I'd say yes. It's fine. It's something you need to kind of keep in the back of your mind. There was a chance of the fog forming off the ocean this morning. It looks like as the sun has come up, that's all burned away now. So we're dealing with 10 miles scattered at 3,400, and pretty light wind, 170 at 6. So I would feel no qualms about going down to New Orleans, continuing on down to New Orleans, and doing a manual landing, manual approach without the autopilot. You know, if it was to fail right now and continue all the way on autopilot. The only thing from here is that it might be fatiguing to spend the next 2 and something hours. Oh, look, there's a cloud. Cloud just formed right in front of us. It might be fatiguing flying the next 2 hours without an autopilot, but that's why you have two pilots as well. So, you know, you can kind of take turns, especially whoever's going to do the approach and landing. Let them have a break for the last half hour, 45 minutes before the approach and landing, so they can kind of, you know, make sure they're not worn out when they go to do the approach and landing. That was definitely very interesting. We did have a random failure. Finally getting some random failures. It was a little bit interesting. It was at least non-resettable, because there's Fenix is kind of fun like that. Like, there's different faults in here, and some of them are resettable, some of them are not. So you can have a resettable FAC fault and a non-resettable FAC fault. So this was non-resettable even after the reset. It didn't come back online. Some of them you can just hit reset on it and it comes back, and hunky-dory, carry on. And that's the way Airbus is. Like, a lot of these faults, you know, these computers are constantly running like internal diagnostics, like self-tests constantly. And if it fails for even a half a second, it throws up a flag. And maybe it was just a half-second glitch, just a little drop in the power supply or something like that. There's Washington right there. Yeah, maybe it's like just a half-second glitch in the power supply, but it's just enough to trigger a warning. But then when you reset the system and it tests out a second time, it's fine. There's no problem with it, because it's running just fine. The power supply's back online. There's no long-term glitch. So sometimes that's just the way it is. You've got to be sort of ready for these things. All right. So what we didn't do is we didn't do a cruise check when we leveled off because we literally got the ECAM just at that moment. So let's do a quick cruise check here. So we're just coming up to a waypoint. So let's get our flight plan up here. I can pull up the PDF version here if I could. Please, thank you. Alright, so here's the PDF. And we're going to look for our nav log again. Alright, so we're just about to pass Hams. Hams, there it is. So we're going to do our first check here at Hams and see how that looks. And actually the one thing we could do is let's see here, she's got a takeoff time. 36 minutes at Hams. Yeah, that's very reasonable actually. 35 was what we're supposed to be at. So she started the timer there when we left LaGuardia, and that actually worked out really well. Michelle, I should say her name, Michelle. I don't know why. I was thinking about the Beatles song, and it just sort of got me to thinking about it. All right, so there's 1612, and we've got 10.5 in the tank, so we've got 400 kilos more than we're supposed to have. 1612, or maybe a minute or so late abeam Hams. We'll keep an eye on this as we go because of that, kind of northbound vector and then get turned around. That's probably where we lost a minute or two. But let's go ahead and recalculate this and see. We'll be ready. To continue tracking all of our waypoints here. Long way to Captain. 17, 7. And our estimate is 1820. It's within a reasonable margin of error. Within a 10-minute margin of error is not terrible on this. So we'll keep tracking that. We'll also just do a quick cruise procedure now and just have a look at everything. So again, this light we know is on for a reason. Otherwise, all the switches, all the lights should be off mostly, and everything should be in a normal position. Everything looking good. Wow, she just blazed that switch. Just to give her some life, I guess. Otherwise she would just literally sit here all day and not do anything for 3 hours. At least it makes it look like she's doing something. Alright, we'll have a quick look at all this stuff here. Engine page looks good. Leads. It's even. Pressurization's holding nicely. Electrical loads are, nope, not too high at all. Hydraulics are good. Fuel is okay. APU's not running. Flaps closed. Conditioning's looking good. Conditioning's fine. Brakes are all nice and cool. Wheel pressure's good. And radar tire pressure's good. And yeah, flight control page looks good. Alright, so then more thorough fuel check here. So we've used 1100 from each side, 2200. That makes sense. And then in the tanks we've got 40, that's about 9, that's about 10.4, yeah, 10.4, and 10.4 and 2210 adds up to 12.6, which is very close to our 12.7, so we haven't leaked any fuel as best we can tell. Everything seems to be going hunky-dory. Just give me 1 second, I'm going to go let my dogs back inside now, and then we'll have a few little chats. All right. What can we talk about today, guys? Because honestly, I didn't see all that much in the flight sim world news the last week or so. Really hasn't been anything too exciting that I recall, anyways. Let me just think here. Just trying to think if there's anything exciting that's happened here. Yeah, nothing I can really think of. The one thing that's completely not related to flying, but it did happen, was announced just the other day, and I thought it was a little bit interesting, was the merger of the two theme park companies. So Six Flags and Cedar Fairs are apparently in talks to execute a merger early next year, which is going to put like most of the major theme parks in North America under one banner, which is really kind of it could be good, it could be bad. The reason I always think I found it a little bit interesting is just because, of course, Canada's Wonderland, which is the park that I get to go to most of the time, is Super Theme Park Pass on the way. I want to know how much I got charged for Super Theme Park Pass. But yeah, Canada's Wonderland, which is the major park in the Toronto area, is a Cedar Fair park. So this could impact us. Like my kids are they're at that park going age right now. So my eldest daughter's just rounding out 13. My youngest one's coming up 10. They're really starting to enjoy theme parks a lot. And a lot of these parks are not really well oriented to younger kids. I mean, you can take younger kids, but I don't think they get the joy out of it, the fun out of it that really makes the admission price worthwhile until you get to a certain point where like you can really start to go on most of the rides and enjoy them. So my kids are both kind of coming up to that age, so we do go to Canada's Wonderland. My eldest daughter probably went to Canada's Wonderland 7 times this summer, which is pretty impressive. So that that could have some impacts along the way for those of you that do enjoy going to theme parks. But it was interesting because I saw one analyst who then wrote, what parks do I see as fallen by the wayside as a result of this merger? Oh my gosh, this dog is driving me nuts. Hold on one second. I've got to go and see what this dog is barking at now. Why these dogs are being so needy today. They need to be separated today for some reason. So I mean, of course, you start to get consolidation in the industry. The first question I ask is, of course, so what are the prices going to do? Are we going to start raising prices? Because I will say this, I will give Canada's Wonderland some credit that like their pricing is still pretty impressive overall. For being the size and scope park that it is, it's the second largest concentration of roller coasters in the world, I believe. Maybe it's third. There's 18 roller coasters in one park. Like that is an incredible. We've gotten very used to it in Canada, but in Toronto, but that is one of the largest concentrations of roller coasters in the world. I think it's either second or third in the entire world in terms of the number of roller coasters in one park, and yet they've managed to keep the prices reasonable. And I say reasonable, but I think of what we used to pay 20-something years ago when I was a teenager, and the price has only gone up like $20 in 20 years. I would have to argue that that's probably well below the rate of inflation, the average rate of inflation for that whole period of time. They've managed to keep the ticket prices fairly even as inflation has probably put upward pressure on their costs, but. I have to say, I think it's the season pass, especially if you can go a couple times in a year, like three or more times in a year. It's a pretty reasonable deal. But yeah, the idea then perhaps of a super theme park pass on the way to cover all the Cedar Fairs and all the Six Flag parks in one go, like that would be awesome. As someone who can kind of travel relatively inexpensively, I would like to do that. I would like to start visiting some other theme parks. I like Canada's Wonderland a lot. I think the rides, I think a lot of the rides are great. I think a lot of the coasters are really good coasters, but I would love to visit some other parks and to sort of expand the horizons a little bit. My eldest has really become a little bit hooked on the idea of roller coasters. So one that I've really put on my list, and this was the funny thing was I would probably not have been aware of this if I hadn't read this, but just this morning I saw it. There was just a theme park industry analyst, and he was talking about which parks are going to stay, which parks are going to go. Assuming that anytime that there's a merger, we're going to try and reduce the redundancy, eliminate the duplication. So there will be some markets where Six Flags and Cedar Fairs have two parks in the same market as a result of the merger, and maybe one of these might be closed or sold off or something like that. Rather than try and compete with themselves. It wasn't like a hugely in-depth analysis. It was more like here's the things, and certainly there were certain parks that he called them the untouchables, like parks that they would think that barring a total corporate meltdown, they would never consider selling. And Canada's Wonderland was like second on the list. And there were a couple of other. There was a list of about 6 parks where they're just completely untouchable. Like, they make so much money. They have such good attendance ratings, such good collections of rides. You would never even consider selling them. Like, they are the marquee of the brand. And then they got to the bottom, and there was one. And it was interesting. There was one park that is on its way out, and I did not know this. I didn't realize this, and it makes me want to go and take it in now. But California's Great America, which I believe is a Cedar Fair park. I think it's a Six Flags park, but it is slated to actually close down sometime over the next decade. So I think it was Cedar Fair's recently. They acquired it a while back, but recently they got the land. So the city had sold the park, but only leased the land to whoever was operating the park. And they recently sold it to Cedar Fairs, and Cedar Fairs turned around, and then within a couple of years turned around and sold the land to a developer. So the land that California's Great America sits on is not owned by the theme park company, but is owned by a developer. And the lease, the plan, Cedar Fairs officially had a plan to close the park down by 2033. The lease on the land that they actually signed actually runs out in 2028, so the developer could technically boot the park off the land and shut it all down in 2028, which is still quite a ways away. That's still 5 years away, but it's not necessarily an easy park for people on the East Coast to get to. So I would like to put that plan into motion. I've been thinking about that a little bit. It's like I would like to try and find some time to maybe take a little mini family vacation out there and at least visit that park before it ever shuts down. There's some infamous roller coasters there. I would love to try out, and just at least to be able to say, I've been to that park, I went to that park, I tried it out, and so I would like to go and do that. So that was the one that was completely on his list. There was a couple of different ways he analyzed things. The other ones, there were 2 other lists of parks that were sort of maybes. The one list was a list of parks that were A, in urban areas, and did not have great attendance. So maybe selling off the land, shutting down the park and selling off the land could be worth more to the company than trying to keep the park up and running when it's got subpar attendance. The other ones were parks that were not in major urban areas and were therefore an interesting conundrum because they didn't have great attendance, but also because they're not in a major urban area, the land is not worth very much. So, what are you going to get for the land if you shut it down and sell it versus just kind of keeping it going and making a small profit off it over the years? So, it was definitely interesting to think about. Anyways, what are the efficiencies? When they talk about efficiencies, that usually means redundancies. It means removing redundancies, which means closing redundant parks. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I read it, and I think that's probably the way most people would likely interpret it. I think. So I would love to see that though, like a super theme park pass that covers all the park, that covers not just your home park, but can get you into any Cedar Fair, Six Flags park, out there. And that's a good 20-ish theme parks, maybe more. That would be really neat, and to be able to travel and visit these different parks, try out different roller coasters. Some of them, try out the world's tallest roller coaster, perhaps. I'm pretty sure it's in Six Flags, I think. I'm not even sure what park it's in now. Ask my daughter, she'll tell you. Whether or not this really means good things for the consumer at the end of the day, I don't know. My first thought when I hear businesses merging and consolidating is they're just looking to exercise efficiencies, but also reduce market competition and jack up the prices. That's my first thought. It's the food is expensive enough as it is. Now they're going to jack the food prices up 30% more next year because there's less competition in the theme park market. Will they? I don't know, but that's my first thought. Every time there's a company merger, it's like, oh, here we go, less competition, higher prices. Anyways, that was a little bit of interesting news. Anyways, it's not really aviation related much at all, but I would like to try that out now. I would like to perhaps head out to California and try and at least see and visit California's Great America at least once before it shuts down. Let's see, what else can we talk about though? I'm trying to think now what other news there was, and I really can't think of too much else. There was a little minor sim update that dropped the other day. I didn't even notice really anything different. I don't know what if anything changed in that sim update. And I guess it's it is World Update 15. See, I don't even read that often anymore. World Update 15, Nordics and Greenland. Greenland would be a fun one to go to, I think. Canada's Wonderland is the busiest seasonal theme park in North America, and I've read that before, and it is true. And having gone there many times this year, I believe it 100%. It is insane in the summer how busy that park is. It's an excellent testament to what was at the end of the day a good idea. The original plan back in the day was that it might potentially be a Disney park. Disney was kind of shopping around in the late 70s for a new location for a theme park, and there was talk about opening a theme park in Canada and appealing to an international market. Toronto was a big and growing urban location. There was talk about building a Disney theme park outside Toronto, and Disney looked at it and they said, seasonal. Why would we do a seasonal park when we can make money year round? And so that was kind of Disney's take on it. They looked at it. I don't know how long and how seriously they looked at it, but they said, no, if we're going to have to shut the park down for 4 or 5 months a year, it's just not worth even building it. Thank goodness that I believe it was Taft Communications came along and said, no, you know what? There's a market for this. People in Toronto still want to have fun. Yeah, okay, it's cold. It's snowy for 4 or 5 months of the year, but we can make enough money off the summer season. Imagine that if there had been a Disney park built in Toronto. Canada's Wonderland probably wouldn't exist. It would be a Disney park instead. But Taft, I'm pretty sure it was Taft Communication looked at it and said, we could build a branded theme park here in Toronto. It's a big and growing market. Ontario is a big and growing province. And I mean, this was 40 something years ago, like when they were looking at it 45 years ago. Like it was, I don't think the GTA had hit 1 million people yet, but it was definitely big and growing. And lots of tourist connections. They had a big major airport nearby. There was definitely something to talk about for it. So I'm so happy they went with that and did build it, because I remember enjoying that as a kid. When I was a kid, it was still a relatively new park. It was still a new and novel concept, and then it became a staple. Through the teenage years, it became a staple, and it's assumed it was here. But yeah, there was a time when it didn't happen. World Flight, thank you, Travis, for pointing that out, because obviously I am not paying any attention, but World Flight is going on right now on the VATSIM network. I don't even know where they're up to. I believe they're probably like in Asia or Africa. If I probably look at VATSIM, I can probably figure it out, because there's usually a whole truck of people behind them. For some reason, my VATSIM is not downloading data. Just try restarting it here. I'll go to the VATSIM map in a second here. I can probably do that. I could probably figure out where World Flight is. Well, maybe not. Because it's also mid-afternoon in Europe, so it's just busy in Europe. Pretty sure it was last night they were in Canada. Last night they came through Winnipeg, which was their only Canadian stop this time around. For some reason. My VATSIM is not working. No, I can't even see it. Can't even figure out where it is. So I'm just going to pull it up on the World Flight webpage here. Because, yeah, I can't even figure it out. If they're in Europe somewhere right now, it's so busy in Europe. It's so busy in Europe right now that you can't even tell where they are. So let's see here. Route map. Come on, show me the route map. There we go. All right, route map. So, okay, so let's see here. It is Wednesday, November 8th. It's about 1600 Zulu. So these guys are, is this Zulu times? I'm assuming this is scheduled time of departure on time Zulu. So they are probably coming up to, MMN, I believe is Casablanca, right? Golf Mike November's Casablanca, I believe. Yes, GMMN Casablanca Mohammed V International General Airport. So they're coming through Casablanca and then they're going down into Africa before they dodge back up through Europe. So that's what they were seeing. So I looked at it on my other computer. Let me pull it up for you guys just so you can see it here. My vPilot's not working. Not my vPilot, my VATSIM. Spot them here. Am I sure I've got the timing right here? Hold on, let me look at this one more time here. Planning portal. It's Wednesday, November 8th. Nope, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong. See, I started looking at, that was Tuesday. That was yesterday they were there at 1700. Okay, sorry. That's why I can't find them here. They are on their way to UKBB, which is Kyiv. They're going to Kyiv right now, and then down to Istanbul. Oh, and there it is. And now it becomes kind of obvious. There's World Flight right there. All right, if you guys can see that. So there is World Flight right there. They're going down to Kyiv, and then from Kyiv they're going to go on to Istanbul. So Kyiv is going absolutely crazy right now. Can I not see ATC on here? Got it. Oh, here we go. ATC. There we go. So we do have a tower on in Kyiv. Looks like we have Warsaw radar. So that's World Flight right there. So for those of you guys that don't know, anyways, World Flight is an annual fundraising event. I believe that they raise money for the flying doctors in Australia, I believe. And basically these guys get together and they fly for an entire week straight, essentially, and fly a whole flight around the whole world. Each team raises money for their own charities by flying their simulator along the route. So yeah, so you get teams of like a dozen people who basically fly their simulator nonstop, and they take it in shifts. They'll fly like 2 or 3 flights, and then the next guys will come in and fly the next couple flights. And so for the whole week, they basically fly around the whole world. If I can actually go back and find the whole world flight. Map here. But but here is their, so they spend an entire week flying their whole way around the world. So they started off in Sydney and they're going to go all the way back around to Sydney again. And they did something new this year, which was they actually went to Antarctica. So the World Flight had never visited Antarctica before. There's no scenery. They actually, the World Flight Committee or organizers had to actually create custom scenery for Wilkins and Union Glacier, and then they actually landed the whole flights there, and then carried on back up through the Americas, across through Europe. So they're about half done now. They're coming down through Kyiv, and then they're going to head out east to end back in Sydney again. So over the course of an entire week, they do 48 legs here. Look at this, 2301 all the way around to 2348. They do 48 different legs over the course of the week. And VATSIM is a proud sponsor of this. They've been sponsoring it for years. They go out of their way to make sure that there is ATC online ATC online for like every single segment of it. So if they can't get local ATC, the preferred course, of course, the preferred action, of course, is to get local ATC at each step of the way. Make sure that these flights get full ATC coverage. If they don't, then there's a Go team from VATSIM that consists of some very experienced controllers that are maybe not local to each area, but that will just hop on and temporarily provide ATC in those areas just for the length of world flight. If there's not sufficient ATC resources, or the local controllers are not available, because some of these things happen at bad, weird times. The Winnipeg, I actually kind of looked at it today, or this week, with Winnipeg being the World Flight Airport, and it was basically at midnight Winnipeg time, which was 1 in the morning for me. I was like, I would like to do that, but I just can't. I can't stay up that late. I'm not sure if there were any Toronto controllers that hopped on, because obviously going from Winnipeg down to the Azores probably would have passed through Toronto as well there. Alright, I just noticed that we are just passing our step climb point there, and we should have gotten a step deleted message because we didn't do the climb, but let's do it anyways. There's flight level 360, and thrust climb all blue. They were indeed staffed. Oh, that's good. I'm glad to know that. I didn't really feel that bad about it, because like it's the middle of the night, and that's kind of the way it happens when you're flying 24/7 circling the globe over the course of the week. Some of those flights are going to happen at really terrible, awkward, middle of the night kind of times. I think it would be neat to participate though, as well as a team member. Because a lot of these team members, like some of them participate in like some very serious sims that are like complete flight deck replicas that belong to one or two people, but then you get a whole team of 10 people, and you sort of you tag team in and out. Some take over during an airport stop, and the stops are all supposed to be short too. They're all supposed to be like they're supposed to be like 45-minute turns, I think, something like that. They're all pretty short turns, like just enough time for you to fire up a new airplane, refuel, get a new flight plan in there. Yeah, it looks like they are planned as 45-minute turns at every airport, so that's not a lot of time. If you have to do a crew swap especially, that's not a lot of time. You got to give you guys a quick briefing of anything that's going wrong with the sim, and when you're dealing with a real-world sim like that, that's 35-2 climbing 360, this massive computer, like that's, you might have to talk about, like, okay, well, what are the glitches? What are the problems we're seeing? Are there any issues that might prevent us from flying? Like, you might have, like, real-world problems, like, the joystick's not working, or the keyboard's not responding, or something like that. Because as best as I can tell, like, the idea is they don't shut the sim down for like a week. And I thought it was impressive last week when I flew my sim for 13 hours and I didn't shut it down. I couldn't imagine letting my computer fly for a week straight out without without being shut down or rebooted from time to time. But I think that's the idea, is that these guys do not reboot. They don't shut it down. They just land at an airport, turn off the engines, load a new flight plan, turn around and go without shutting the sim off. And like, I couldn't imagine trying to go like a week without shutting my sim off. I think it would be grinding away at a half a frame per second by the end of that week. There's Mach Star, and there is all crews. Let's see here. All right, so we also just passed GSO, so let's just do a quick position and fuel update there as we passed GSO. Alright, so GSO, we passed over it at 1640, so thanks to our higher cost index, it looks like we're cutting time off the flight. And let's have a look at the fuel. At GSO, we had 9 point, does that say 6? That does say 6. So we had 9.6 in the tank at GSO. So not only are we, and this is because I always put an extra fuel factor on there, but so we're actually more fuel than expected over GSO, and we're a minute early. So I say we carry on with the 100 cost index. Let's see here. So what were you guys just talking about here? So Icebird for All says that there is Antarctica scenery on flightsim.to. The story was not so much that they had to go to that they you know, hadn't been to Antarctica before, but it was mostly the fact that a world flight had never, that was the one continent, like they'd done, you know, they've been doing this for like 10 years now. They'd never been to Antarctica before. What is it? It's Wilkins. I tried searching for Antarctica and I didn't find it, so let me just see if I can find it. Wilkins. No, I can't find it on flightsim.to now. Let me try clicking on the link. Where's your link? I honestly can't find it. I'm searching for Wilkins. There it is. Antarctica Airport Pack. And I wonder if maybe this is the pack that they used. I got the impression from reading the original press release that they had made their own scenery, but maybe they just simply used this pack. Because they did go to Wilkins, and then what was the other place they went to? Let's have a look here. It was Wilkins and also Union Glacier. SCGC. I can't even. Interesting. You know what? That should be fun to go and try and see if we can take an airplane down there one day on a little group flight, maybe, or on a mission. Yeah, maybe that is the pack that they used. Maybe that was the. But yeah, I guess the point of the press release was that they had to use a customized Antarctica scenery because there was no Antarctic scenery included by default in MSFS, as best as I could tell. I think that something to that effect. It's the first time they've ever been to Antarctica, but good on them for doing that. I think that could be a lot of fun. I'm tempted to download that pack, install it, and try it out. It's got 21. This pack has 21 different airports in it, so it's not just one. It's I didn't even realize there were that many runways in in Antarctica. I knew there was a handful of bases. I didn't realize that there were 21 different airstrips in Antarctica. But how else are you going to get around, really? I mean, there's no transportation links. You know, it's either by sea or by air. Those are the two transportation links. Over land, workable, but dangerous to say the least, depending on the season, whether you're dealing with snow melt and cracks or just harsh weather conditions. But that might be something to go and try one day, is to try and do these Antarctic airports. Maybe visit a couple of them and fly between them. It does look pretty good. I'm not going to load the flightsim.to scene around here because I find that website is it's one of the worst in terms of being a real resource hog. The graphics and the way it's designed is not a very resource friendly website, and that's that's a problem that we have in this day and age too, as well. If I can rant on that too, is the internet has become so almost unattainable to anybody with a weaker system. The assumption is that everything has to be huge, and busy, and you need a solid ad blocker for that site. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. You need a good ad blocker. Even then, even with the ad blocking, I find there's a lot more. It's not an efficiently written, coded website. It tends to use up a lot to draw stuff on the screen. I mean, and even you want pictures and everything for downloads and stuff like that. And I get it, but I find it is. If I try and load that up while the sim's running, I find it cranks a lot of performance away from the sim. I don't notice it if I'm not running the sim, but if I'm doing something else that's processor intensive on the computer, flightsim.to is one of those bad websites, and there's a few websites like that have so much garbage and bloat built into the code of the website that unless you're running the web browser, nothing else, like you notice anything else that's running starts to choke on it. And maybe the browser is your problem, possibly, but what am I using now? Now I'm using Firefox again. I circled back to Firefox, but regardless of the browser you're using, websites should not be hard to load. There's this assumption that we all have like mega bandwidth fiber optic connections all the time, and that your devices are always connected like that. There needs to be some acceptance of the idea that you're not connected to the internet all the time, or that you don't always have like a super broadband connection, and you don't want to download gigabytes of extraneous data. And that's funny. Iceberg for All says they're not hard to load; they just want all your data. Well, and maybe that's right. Maybe that is a good part of it too. Absolutely, but. Yeah, it's very frustrating to kind of sometimes surf the web, and some of these websites take so long to load because there's so much bloat behind it. Data rules the world. Well, exactly. There was a really great website I saw. We have some ATC, I think. And I literally just looked at vPilot 10 seconds ago. Oh, no, it's just somebody texting me. Just a pilot texting me and saying they didn't even know I was controlling this weekend, and they didn't even know it was me. But there's a great website called plaintextsports.com, and this is, this speaks volumes, I think, to what's wrong with the world we're in right now. Plaintextsports.com, and this is the website right here, and that's it. And look at how fast that loaded. In a fraction of a second. And why? Because it's a plain text. So if you're into sports scores or whatever, it's all that's all there is to it. Whatever you're into, soccer, Major League Baseball team standings, whatever. I'm just picking stuff at random here, but like it's all text. It's just a simple text website. Go to the source and look at how even this one, which is relatively a very simple website to look at, still is 472 lines of code to do it, but it loads in a fraction of the time because there's no flashy graphics, and sometimes that's just what you need in this world. You need light versions. It's probably white on black, yeah. But you just simple stuff so you can get the information you want without waiting forever for it to load. I don't pay for 250 megabit connection to get such pages. and yes, okay, but I would argue that I do not pay for I don't pay for a gigabit connection for surfing the web. I pay for a gigabit connection for the fact that my family watches multiple videos simultaneously. But when I'm surfing the net, it's nice to see simpler web pages that just load in a reasonable amount of time. And and so that's this used to be what the web was like. Like, the whole idea was to make stuff small and efficient to transport it so that, you could share information without necessarily using up a whole lot of bandwidth on the network as a whole. And the volumes of data the reams of data going around the internet. And so much of it is so useless. Graphics and logos and things like that, it makes things look good, but sometimes the end result is not worth the amount of data and processing it takes to run these things. It can be very frustrating. I kind of like SimAware. It's a relatively quick site to load, but again, like the amount of graphics on some of these websites now, I almost yearn sometimes for a simpler day of the web. But I think I also yearn for it because it was also back when I first got on the web, there was not nearly as much garbage. It wasn't owned by corporations. It wasn't, like you said, your data's not being hoovered up by everybody in sight. It was just people just trying to share information and communicate without corporations inserting themselves in the middle. And I think corporations are what have really truly ruined the internet, just in terms of like trying to capitalize as much as possible on advertising every little bit of space and not only just making money, but gathering as much information as possible along the way. I try to avoid this. Like I've almost deleted social media from my life at this point, and it's kind of nice. I read a fantastic little blurb the other day about a woman who complained that her kid did not want a cell phone, and what a revelation that was. That was the kid's rebellion. The woman grew up in the 90s, and so grew up as from one of the first generations of the digital age, and was very digital savvy. And let their kids have streaming time and taught them how to get on social media and all that stuff, and was ready to give their kid a phone for I think it was their 11th birthday or the 12th birthday when they went to middle school. They were going to get a phone, and the kid opened it up and said, "Thank you, but no, I don't want it." And that was, I think, partly an act of teenage rebellion, but part of it was what we're starting to see now in more and more in kids is this whole idea that they're beginning to realize, I think faster than the adults, what an asset it can be, first of all, to not be connected 24/7, to not have a phone that lives in your pocket that you pull it out and play with it anytime you feel bored, to actually have to entertain your brain with your brain instead of just getting a quick dopamine hit off your phone every time you don't have something to do. So it was really nice, and she was kind of like, she wasn't mad about it. She was kind of almost more confused and a little bit disappointed that her son did not share the same joy of the digital life that she did. But the more she kind of got to talk to him about it and understand why, the more she respected the choice, the decision, and understood kind of the rationale behind it. It wasn't just a teenage rebellion. The rebellion was mostly in the sense of he saw what she was like with the phone 24/7 and just didn't want to be that. Didn't want to be constantly online, constantly answering, constantly looking at the phone every time some little notification goes off. And it kind of culminated with they went on a trip to Ireland and they got lost, and basically her phone died, and she just like let it die. And so like they took a trip to Ireland. It took a trip to a very small village. She realized she forgot her charger, and then by the end of like the first day and a half, her phone died, and she spent like a day looking desperately for a charger. Couldn't find one because she was just small villages nearby. There was nothing major nearby. Couldn't find one that had a voltage change or anything in it. And at the end of the day, she just let her phone die, and it was so nice to reconnect with her son and just walk around the Irish countryside and just relive. And she said it's so funny because, like, even though it's one of the best vacations she ever took, she has no pictures of it. She won't have any digital evidence that it ever happened. And isn't that kind of a wonderful thing? Yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it. Icebird for All said it's all the same. Starting right from the time we invented fire and the knife, you can use everything for good or bad things. It depends on the person. Well, and that's very true. The internet was born of a very noble purpose, It's since been corrupted by a lot of people who came along and said and saw ways to exploit people through it and make money through it. The internet itself is not a bad concept, the idea of connected communication, but again, its original purpose has been so corrupted, it's not even recognizable now as even barely a form of what it originally was supposed to be. It's just so changed and shifted, and yeah, it's completely different from what was originally intended. Sometimes in weird, wonderful ways, sometimes in bad ways. You know, having a cell phone all the time. You know, when I grew up, their cell phones were a luxury, and then eventually, by the time I graduated high school, it was like, well, you can get one and you can talk to people and you can call people, but it was like it was so expensive. The minutes were so expensive, anyways. You didn't want to do anything more than call and just say, hey, where are we going to meet? And then that was the end of it. Having that instant communication, is it a plus? Is it a minus? I mean, it is and it isn't. I think of myself, and I try not to fall for it all the time, but I do spend time, you know, looking at my cell phone when I have nothing else to do. And it's funny how it's socially acceptable if you're in a group to pull out your cell phone and play with it and look down, but it's not as socially acceptable to pull out like a book and start reading a book while you're just hanging out in a group. Like if you're waiting for something to happen, you're at the airport waiting for a flight, it's socially acceptable for everyone to pull out their phone and just stare at their phone and just, you know, twiddle the screen for a little bit. But pull out a book or a magazine and you look like a bit of a social pariah, but it's like you're doing the same thing regardless. Hey, it's great. Without it, I would miss half your streams. I'm not saying that we should never have cell phones in our lives, but I think that we have become entirely too addicted to them as a whole, and the society is pushing more and more in that direction. And so many things you can't even do unless you download the app. You have to download our app. Download our app to do this. Download our app to do that. It's like I don't want to download apps anymore on my phone. I'm so tired of downloading apps and then deleting them again afterwards because they're useless and they're non-stop data hoovers as well. So I've tried to stop installing any app I don't feel is really truly necessary on my phone. You know, and then you get restaurants. You go to like restaurants, and it's like, oh, the menu's on your phone. Just scan this code. I'm like, don't just hand me a paper menu. I spend way too much time, you know, getting nearsighted staring at my phone. I would like to at least have a paper menu to stare at. Oh, we don't have paper menus. Well, I guess I'm not going to shop here because I can't deal with it anymore. And it's not that I can't deal with it, but we just need more time away from it. We need and it's designed specifically for that purpose, as you said. That's all about the people, and the companies are to design these phones to be specifically captivating, that you never put them down. It is, absolutely, and you're absolutely right. And I do realize the irony of my complaining about this as I do a live stream, generating more data out there and supporting some of these companies. So there is definitely some irony to this. But when I'm done with this, I'm going to go shut all this stuff off, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to go rake leaves and spend some time outside. When my kids get home, I'm going to spend time with them. I try not to. I've tried to, you know, I really realized that like I was spending way too much time even when my kids were home, staring at my phone and playing with my phone, and I've really tried to kind of get to that point where I put it down for long periods of time. You know, the one place where I do it, and I'm so happy, and I think it is, to me, is one of the ultimate vacations, is whenever we go to the cottage, I tend to not take my phone anywhere. It used to be kind of out of concern because the beach is very sandy. I don't want to get sand in my case and scratch the screen and all that stuff. But it just sort of became a habit. Like I go to the cottage, like I plug the phone in when I get there, so it charges, and then I never look at it again for sometimes days. It'll literally sit there. You know, I might take it off the charger so it doesn't overcharge, but I might not look at it for 2 to 3 days. And it's such a beautiful, blissful break from the digital reality for that period of time. It's too cold. Yes, the outside world can be sometimes less than ideal, but yeah, toughens you up, man. You know, toughens you up a little bit, builds character. Yes, and I'm not saying we need to completely disconnect from all aspects of the digital world, but I think we need to rejig our expectations of it, though, that people are going to be connected 24/7 to everything in this world. I think it's nice to have that time where you're not connected. And it's weird to me. Like I've tried to think about it. Like I'm a human being. I'm not saying I'm perfect. You know, I talk about it. Maybe I talk a bigger game than I can actually play. But like, the idea of going out, like, play a hypothetical here. Like, could I go an entire day without like my phone around with me? You know, go to the store, make a grocery list on the back of an envelope like we used to, with a pen and paper, and go to the store and do that, and not. We are all lemmings going to the big jump. Yeah, it would be an interesting challenge to do that for even 24 hours, to put my phone down and not use it in any way, shape, or form for 24 hours. I don't know if I could do it. I'll be honest. I don't know if I could do it. It'd be interesting to try. It would definitely be interesting to try. You know, just to pick an average day during the week and just not have your phone for 24 hours. It would be interesting. I don't know if I could necessarily handle it, because even just the idea of going to the store, it's like, well, what if the car breaks down? You know, if you have a phone, you can call and call for help. It's like, wow, you know, people survived, 75 years with automobiles before cell phones came along. Like, you break down, you hike to the nearest gas station, you know, call for a lift. It'd be interesting to try, though. I think I might set myself that challenge one day. I don't know if I could do it. I honestly don't know if I could do it, but I would like to set that challenge for myself one day, even just a 24-hour period of not having a phone. It would be an interesting, eye-opening experience, because like there was a time where you had to look up information, and you actually had to really want information enough to go to the library and look it up, or grab a phone book and look it up. Do I even have phone books anymore? I know I used to at my old desk, but I'm pretty sure they stopped delivering phone books a while ago. The day I die. I will for sure do this challenge the day I die. I will not use anything anymore. It would be interesting. It was funny, actually, though. My dad actually sent me an email the other day. My dad sent me an interesting email the other day. He asked the ChatGPT who I was, who his son was, and it was interesting the answer came up with, because obviously the imprint I've left on the internet in the last 10 years is extremely oddly biased. Let's see if I can bring it up here, because it was an interesting exercise. I would never have thought to do it, but my father he plays with ChatGPT a lot, so he one day he asked it, hey, he asked it, who is, and he put my name in there, and this is the answer he got, and it was certainly interesting. And it's sort of partially correct, but it's like, if you base everything you know in life on what you read on the internet, you can end up with a very biased view of the world anyways. So that's what, there you go, you guys can see that, right? So that, see if I can zoom in anymore. What is it? Control plus. Oops, it's minus. Plus. There you go. I don't know if you guys could read that. It should be big enough for you guys to read there, but I thought it was interesting when I read it. It's like, it gets a very, apparently I'm a Real World Transport Canada certified controller. You get it, it's interesting. If nothing else, and the reply I sent to my dad was like, it's interesting how, if you just take all of your information about the world from the internet, you can end up with a very biased view of the world. It's an interesting article, and I see exactly where it kind of came from. let's see kind of where it got the information. But again, that to me really kind of proves the point that like the internet is an interesting tool certainly for chat AI. If you're basing your entire worldview off what you read on the internet, though, you're going to end up with a skewed worldview. It's not wrong. I mean, it is, but it's not. Definitely not certified by. Definitely not certified working with Transport Canada. If you give a child only the information from the last years, how would it know more about the older times? Well, yeah. But I mean, even this is not 100% correct. This is, you know, this is a slice. This is a part of my life. It is not my life completely. But it doesn't even, you know. Yeah, I really haven't used ChatGPT too much myself, but I just thought it was interesting. Like, if you take your worldview entirely from the internet, you end up with a biased worldview. You end up with missing pieces of information, and yeah, I thought it was really kind of interesting. I mean, it's partly correct. There is definitely some stuff on here that is correct, but it's definitely a very incomplete version of my life, and I'm kind of proud of that in a way. I'm kind of proud that there's a good aspect of my life that is not, you know, hugely online. But yeah, there's no mention of my family at all on here, which I'm fine with. I'm kind of happy to have a private family life. Kind of keeping that all off of Facebook and most other social media these days. So that's kind of, to me, is kind of a nice aspect. But my whole career is not on here either, which is fine. Again, you know, and some of it predates the age of the internet. But I thought it was really interesting what a biased view of the world it was. At least there isn't anything negative. No, and I mean that's good. Like, there's nothing really negative on there. Yeah, there's nothing about the murders or the you know, the car theft ring or anything like that. Anyways, I thought that was a really kind of neat. Like, I would never have thought to ask that. I have self-Googled myself a couple times, and yeah, pretty much all that comes up for my name on Google is all VATSIM related. That's the one place where I sort of have a public face on the internet. But like my family life, I don't post anything on social media anymore. I really have gotten away from social media other than YouTube videos, which is obviously just the hobby aspect and nothing to do with my life. But like Facebook, I haven't even logged into Facebook probably in the last 8 to 12 months. Google has forbidden all its workers to use it. Yeah, actually, it's interesting. Our company has also forbidden our workers from using Chat GPT or any AI chat other than one that's company approved. So the company has actually gone out and they've gotten a filtered approved AI that is being hosted internally that people are allowed to use. You know, in their work for, you know, production documents and research and whatever. But as far as work is concerned, our employees are not allowed to actually use external AI systems for their own for their work anymore, because of there's a big fear of data leakage. If you start asking questions of an external AI about questions about our company and providing information and context about our company, there's a very real concern about data loss and data theft. Is it Don from the Sinaloa cartel has been associated with? Yeah, I managed to keep all that off the internet anyways. But yeah, there's a lot of corporate security issues with AI, because it's just AI hoovers up data, and it's, you know, if you think of it like a person, it's a person with an eidetic memory. It doesn't forget anything. I love the concept of poisoning art for the AIs too. I just love that concept, because this AI is just going around the internet, it's hoovering up as much data as possible, and it never forgets any of it. And the one thing is, like, if you and I go and read a web page, chances are we'll get some information from it, but we'll forget half of what we've read, you know, within an hour or two. But this is just it's an almost infallible machine that will just never forget anything that it reads off the internet. So I love the idea that, like, artists can poison their work if they don't want it to be perused by these AI bots. They can poison their work to the point where it will ruin the bot, and I think that's a fantastic technique. if you really want to put your bots out there in the wild, you got to be ready for them to potentially take in bad data and completely get destroyed. And I love that. I think it's called Nightshade, I think. And yeah, you can put it into the background of your art, and basically it completely completely corrupts any AI that then tries to process your art. I think that's one of the, sadly, it's one of the last recourses that artists have in this day and age. Like, they are basically, yeah, and if you want to put anything out there in the world, like, it's a double-edged sword, putting stuff out there in the world. You want people to see it, but then also these machines can also see it and potentially profit from it. I obviously made a math mistake here, because 1712, we are way behind schedule all of a sudden here. What? That's not right. We just passed 2 up. We were supposed to be here at 1703. It's 1712. Hold on. I'm gonna do it. No, that's why. I made a mistake there. I made a mistake, and now it carried all the way through. Darn it. You guys are supposed to be watching me here. Close to what we've got. Okay, that makes more sense. And what was our fuel there? 8.5 as we pass 2 up and we're up on the fuels. Okay, so that makes more sense now. We're 1 minute early still. 8.5. We're up a little bit on the gas as well, so we're doing good. Heard of plenty of gas here. Oh, look, there's a Houston Center online. Hooray! We are going to have some ATC for the end of this here, at least. So let's have a quick look, a little time check here. So we're going to touch down at 1817. That's a little over an hour from now. So it's actually probably time to start setting up already. I can't believe it. Err Humanum Est. Thank you. I'm going to assume that is Latin for to err is human. Because yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And that's something that I think I'm happy to say, like, that's a revolution that really came into the cockpit about 10 to 15 years ago. Before that, we were trying to engineer mistakes out of the flight deck, and you know, trying to breed superhuman pilots that could never make a mistake. You know, it's just impossible for you to make a mistake. We're going to train you so well, you're never going to make a mistake. And it was a lofty, noble ambition that was not rooted in reality. We recognized that pilot mistakes were killing people, but so therefore we have to stop the pilots from making mistakes. And yeah, I forget what generation of CRM we're into now. I think we're into like the 6th or 7th generation of CRM, but the basic premise of the current generation is that you will make mistakes. You must accept that, and you must learn to guard against them, find ways to detect them, and fix them if they happen. The basic assumption is you are going to make a mistake. I've made mistakes already since we left the gate, I think, and I will probably make more of them. The whole point is to try to design the system such that you have chances to catch your mistakes if they happen. That's why still having 2 pilots up here is so important, because if one person makes a mistake, and it can happen, and it's possible that they can lead the other person down the garden path and like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and then the other person's like, yeah, that sounds good, without really thinking about it. So it's not a perfect community. Seoul, South Korea. A man was crushed to death by a robot in South Korea after the machine apparently failed to differentiate him from the boxes of produce it was handling, the Yonhap News Agency reported Wednesday. Fantastic. You know, and I think about the incident that happened with Cruz in San Francisco, where the cruise car ran over a pedestrian that was crossing the street. It stopped when it realized it hit her, but then because it didn't detect her anymore because she was pinned underneath the car, it then drove for like another couple hundred feet before it stopped again. Scary. I think aviation kind of is a good microcosm for the idea of self-driving cars as a whole. This airplane kind of operates itself, but I would never want to abandon this airplane and just go to sleep and just let it do its own thing right down to the runway, because I don't have enough faith in it as a whole. Like, it will do what you've programmed it to do, but chances are the dynamic situation will change as you go, and you'll need to help the airplane complete its task. Yes, you programmed in the performance, the descent, the approach, all that stuff, and transition. It's all there, but things will change. You'll need to throw out the speed brakes to help slow down. You'll need to recognize changing weather conditions up ahead. There's so much that's dynamic in this environment, and these autopilots, even 50, 60, 70 years after the autopilot was first invented, they're good, but I don't think they're at the level of autonomous yet. We've been doing this for 70 years, so all these companies that are like, yeah, we can have self-driving cars, we can have them in 5 or 10 years. It's like there's a lot of practical technological aspects to it that you can probably solve, but just the fact that the world is a dynamic environment that doesn't change. And I read, like, now Cruise has shut down their operations in San Francisco, but before they shut down, it was like an average of like once every 20 to 30 minutes each car would need intervention from a human driver. That oftentimes it was done remotely, but the human driver would have to tell the car how to get out of a situation it was in. And this was happening, multiple times a day to each car. The world is just so dynamic and so full of different unusual situations, and it's hard to program all of them. Even with AI, it's still a dynamic world. So all these promises that self-driving cars can be 5 or 10 years away, we're going to have them in 2 years. It's like all these companies that promise that vastly overestimate their own technical skill and vastly underestimate how challenging it is to navigate this dynamic world we're in. It takes the average human being, 10 years, 15, 20 years to learn to navigate this world before they can kind of do it confidently. And even then, people can't do it confidently. Look at the number of people that get lost in airports and ask for directions. Like, we've crafted a very crazy dynamic world. Even before we crafted it, the Mother Nature crafted this crazy dynamic world where no two places are exactly the same. I really think it's going to be a long time before self-driving cars really become a thing, because we still have built this world where nothing is very standardized. Roads are still, every road is unique, every road is different, every intersection is different. No matter how much you try to standardize them and program them all to be the same, they're all kind of a result of their individual, respective situations. And I think the other problem too that a lot of these tech companies have is they have the Facebook mentality of move fast and break something. And it's fine when you're building social media websites, and if the social media website goes down, I mean, some people might think it's the end of the world, but it's really not. But when you start building things that actually interact with people in the real world, and things that can actually cause harm, and self-driving cars are right there at the top of the list. People think cars are not. I think cars are generally safe, but really at the end of the day, it's 2, 3, 4 tons of steel bombing down the highway at sometimes 100 miles an hour. That's a very dangerous situation. We've tried to engineer some safety into it, but at the end of the day, automobiles are very dangerous machines, and most people, especially in North American society where they're basically necessities, people have been desensitized to that danger. The 40, 50, 60,000 people a year that get killed by automobiles they're just dismissed as the cost of doing business. And that mentality, first of all, there's a big problem with that mentality as a whole in North America towards driving, but then towards the safety level of automobiles and the people around the automobiles. But then, to go and say, well, we're just going to, if we make mistakes with self-driving cars, it's fine. We'll fix them. We'll try and get them launched really fast, and then we'll fix the mistakes as we go. It's like, you need to fix the mistakes before they even get out there in the public and they're dealing with the public. Has Terminator taught us nothing? I don't think Terminator has taught us anything. Skynet is coming online. It's about 30 years late, but Skynet's coming online soon. And then, we'll all be at the behest of the machines. Anywho, I gotta start setting up for this arrival here, because, let's see here. I still can't get VATSIM on this here, so, Let's see here. I'm gonna pull up the ATIS on the other computer here if I can get it. Actually, no, I still have it on here, don't I? Let's see if I can get it on here. Where's my VATSIM map? Oh, there, it's similar. Alright, so we do have Houston Center online. We are going to be in Houston Center in the next half an hour or so. There we go. New Orleans information, Charlie. 1653 Zulu, winds 160 at 7, gust 16, 10 miles, broke 34, broke 25,000, 26, 18, 3008. Expect ILS approach 11. Accept aircraft inbound from north through southeast. Expect ILS runway 20, departing 20. Alright, so we should land on 20. No dams. ASSC in use, squawk altitude on all surface areas, bird activity vicinity of airport. Alright, so we're going to plan 20. I'm just going to step away for about 3 minutes here, guys. I've just got to check on the dogs, use the facilities, and I'm not going to have a whole lunch now. I'll save that till after we land, but I'm just going to step away for about 3 minutes here, guys. Just give me a couple minutes, and I'll be right back, and then we'll get this arrival into New Orleans set up. Alright, that feels a little better. Now I'm ready for this arrival here. And look, I came back, I sat down, and the plane wasn't going sideways. Michelle's obviously a better co-pilot than George. Alright, let's do this here. So, New Orleans, runway 20. I'm going to call it dry, apply the METAR, landing weight, fuel prediction page here. We got a gross weight of 60.7, expected landing fuel on board 65. So we're looking at 66, 66 and a half, 67.2. So let's round up to 67.5. That should give us very reasonable landing numbers. 67.5. Low auto brake, idle reverse, manual landing, flaps pull, auto thrust on. And it doesn't want to calculate. once in a while I get this too, and I can never figure out why. Oh, it didn't apply to Mentar. Let's do that. There we go. Alright, so with that weight, low is going to put us past the end of the runway. Even medium, flaps full, is going to be most of that runway. 77,000 feet available, 6493 required, so we are definitely going to have to factor in the reverse here, max reverse. Yeah, even with that, we can do it. But darn, it's tight. Why is it so tight? The max manual gets us down to 54.59, so we'll do medium, but we'll have to get on manual braking almost right away. Alright, so let's do that. So we got medium there. There's my coffee as well. Alright, let's change this up for runway 20. Arrival. Let's see here, ILS 20. And we're still in the same star, so let's go ahead and just check out the Navigraph charts here. Let's see what approach fees I've got here. It really does not like the hesitation when the Navigraph loads there. It really kind of throws it for a big loop. Alright, so let's do this. I'm going to bookmark both the ILS 11 and 20, but the plan is the I don't see an ILS to 20, I see a low runway 20. Why do I not see an ILS to 20? Oh, I'd rather do an RNAV than a step down poke. Wasn't he advertising an ILS to 20? But there is no ILS. There's LOG. That's weird. That's weird. Alright, I'm just going to check my other chart source here. I believe I've got New Orleans available on this one too. Alright, approaches 20. There's either a LOC or an RNAV. Oh, I don't want to do the LOC, I'd rather do the RNAV. Given the choice between doing a LOC and an RNAV, let's do the RNAV. Alright, we're going to put the RNAV. Oh, it's ILS 29. That's not what I want. Okay. LOC 20. We'll just take the RNAV Zulu. Runway 20. Put Snaky in there. Yeah, that's in there. Monster 1, SJI. Alright, let's do that. Alright, and let's just have a look at this here. So Monster 1. Oh, actually, before I do this, let's flag the... So, not doing the LOC, I'm doing the RNAV. Low, because nav FPA is a pain in the rear. I might try the nav FPAs when I finally get my FCU, but nav FPA, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen very quickly. It's hard to do on a... yeah, it's hard to do on... what am I trying to say here? I think you guys know what I'm trying to say here. It's hard to do on the sim here. So much stuff has to happen. Alright, so SJI is semis. After that, we go to Bugle, Gulfport, Mutta, Cleary, Monster, and Slide. Slide's the only constraint on there. Slide 11,000 feet at 250 knots. Yep, and then from there we're going to go. We'll continue on the straight ahead track, but probably we're going to get like direct snaky. Direct snaky. Front approach course 197. So we got the manual leg change in there, and then snaky, Ray up, Jaspo, and Snaky's above 4,000, Rayop's above 4,000, Jaspo at 2,000, at or above 2,000. And then the glide path angle's coded in after Jaspo, so we have to get down to 2,000 Jaspo, then we can fly the final app from there. The missed approach is 197 to Pauly, and then 109 to safe and hold at 2,000. Alright, that's all in there. RadNav, we don't need anything special on here because we're doing an RNav. I'm going to put KMSY 20. Alright, flight level 360, flight level 390, yeah, okay, that's fine. GPS, predictive GPS at the destination. We've got yeses across the board, and I did actually see it where there were some no's, so there will be some randomly programmed in no's every once in a while. Cruise phase, descent phase, that's a little bit fast for descent. I'm going to do 0.80, but then we're going to slow it down to 320 knots in the descent. A little bit more reasonable. Hugging the red line the whole way down there. Alright, 3008 now, on the meter. It's 26 degrees. Oh, it's a nice day there. Ooh, that is a nice day. 26 degrees, 160 at 7, gust 16. So 160 at 7, don't bother putting in the gusts. Let's see here, we'll take the 0.3 barrel mins in here. RP 414. Actually, what am I doing here? I should be doing the RNAV. Yeah. Why are the Americans backwards on their labeling of the RNAV approaches? This is what I always wonder. Actually, doing the RNAV Yankee. Because this is the LNAV VNAV one. LNAV VNAV DA 325. Alright. See, don't bother doing that because until you've changed the approach, now you're going to change everything anyways. Alright, RNAV Yankee. RNAV Yankee, Snaky, Monster 1. Okay. It's still basically the same route. I don't even know what the difference is really here, but we're going to recheck it now. There's the one restricted slide. So, Snaky Ray up, Jaspo 2000, still coded after Jaspo 249. Pauly, safes. Yep, still the same. Perf, the only thing that should change on this is it'll remove the minimum speed because we changed the approach, so that's fine. 325, we can put it back in there. Config full, and let's see here. The acceleration doesn't happen until 2000 until we level off at the missed approach. 2000. Alright. Fuel prediction still showing 2.9. I've got an hour and something extra fuel when we get there, so we have lots of time to do a second approach if we have to. We're going to recopy the active, and there we go. Status, I don't think there's anything exciting happening on the status. Just the fact, Cat 3 single only, that's fine. There's no Cat 2 approaches in New Orleans, I don't believe anyways, so I think we're good. You have control.
I have control.
Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Go ahead.
Alright. So, today we are doing, first of all, technical status of the aircraft. So we have lost one FAC. We're still operating on the second FAC, so everything is still operating normally except for the fact that both sides are operating off Flight Director 2. NOTAMs, actually, I didn't check NOTAMs. Let's have a quick look and see if there's anything exciting on the NOTAMs. And the other thing I'm going to need to check on as well is if there's a gate. I don't remember if there's a gate or not, so let's go down here to NOTAMs. Alright, so MSYA destination, Gulf 4, Gulf 3, Gulf 2, Gulf 1 closed. Let's just see where that is. 3, Gulf 2, Gulf 1. So, we're Gulf 3, that's all Gulf over here, so I bet Gulf is closed too, isn't it? Taxiway Gulf closed between Gulf 1 and Gulf 5. Yep, that makes sense. RVRs, midpoint RVRs are unserviceable. ILS or Loc 11. So I should read these just in case we get circled back around. These are just the special authorization. So Mr. Approach, climb 800 feet, climb a right turn to 2600, direct to HRV. So it's the LEV vortex. That was service was changed to the Mr. Approach for the ILS to 11. And that's basically it. Arrival, that's not us. Okay, so no NOTAMs impacting our arrival into New Orleans. So we are on the Monster 1 RNAV arrival. The routing constraints are all as published. Everything's in the box. No special notes on the plan there. The transition is we're going to probably get a vector or a direct, maybe snaky or ray up for the RNAV Yankee runway 20 into New Orleans. Plate 12-3 and for Armstrong New Orleans International, WAS, no frequencies required. Final approach course is 197. Let's just check it out here. It is course 197 inbound. JASPO 2000 is the FAF. It's also the final descent point. And the LNAV VNAV DA we're going to use today is 325. That's set for the Barrow. Missed approach climbed to 2,000 feet direct to Pulte. Missed approach is as published or is otherwise signed by TC. It's in the box. MSA, all sectors around 20's 3,100 feet. Let's see here. No special notes on the plan. It's a standard 3-degree glide path angle. PAPI's on the left, MALS lighting system. It'll be a convenient right turn off the runway. Yeah, it's a pretty short runway. So we're definitely going to want to be touched down no later than uniform. If we're not touched down by uniform, which should be about 2,000 feet down the runway, I think. Let's see, this is a 7,000 foot runway. Anyways, by the end of the last painted touchdown marker, if we haven't touched down by the end of the last painted touchdown zone marker, we're going to do a go around. Yeah, what am I thinking here? Yeah, we're going to taxi to the gate here. I'm going to need a gate assignment. Parking gates coordinates, that's the other one I want here. So let's just see if we can find, while I'm here, let's just do it right now while I'm thinking about it. Let's find a gate assignment for JetBlue. FlightAware is another one of those pages too that it's processing way more information than it needs to, and then it ends up not working very well. I have to go back and forth and add more information. All right. Let's see. The last time we had a JetBlue flight in here, they went to gate Charlie 1. So right there on the inside corner. So that's where we're going to plan to go as well. Gate Charlie 1 on the inside corner of the alley there. Yeah. So let's see here. Performance is all in the box. It'll be a left seat landing. Expecting anti-ace off. We got auto brake medium, config full reverse, and we'll transition to max manual braking shortly after we touch down. Make sure that we are decelerating. And yeah, I'm just trying to think. I think that's about all I can really say right now. There's a little cover left. Let's see here. So threats. So the possibility of a runway change to 11. So I think to mitigate that threat, what we're going to do right now is put. We're going to make sure secondary is copied, and then we're going to change this to the ILS to 11. So this way, if we do get assigned the ILS 11, we're not going to be sitting there futzing around at the last possible second. So let's just have a quick look at the ILS. We're looking to runway 11, plate 11-2. I don't think we need to worry about doing the approach vias because we're coming in from this way anyway, so it's going to be vectored onto final. No change to the star, so again, vehicle GPT, auto cleary, slid, 1,000, that's there. Turtle, mud bag, and MSY 11, missed approach, feet. 174 to safe, so we also got a safe for that one at 2,000 feet. And then secondary performance, so that way it's all in there as well. It should have copied over, yep, copied over our descent performance. The only thing I need is the minimums for the ILS, which is 204, and then that's in there as well now. 2,000 feet is set for the miss. So now the secondary, if we activate the secondary, we've got the ILS to runway 11 ready to go. I can't think of too much else right now in terms of threats. Just a short runway. As I said, we'll get on the max reverse and max brakes pretty quickly. This airplane does stop actually pretty well once we get those in there. Short runway. Possible runway change. We've got the FAC fault. If we lose a second FAC, I believe that's going to knock out our autopilot. So I can do some research into that right now, but I believe it's going to knock out the autopilot. I think that's about it, though. Any questions? Are you ready for the approach briefing?
No questions. Go ahead.
Any questions?
No questions.
I have control.
You have control.
She's a little slow. Alright. At least when I walked out of the flight deck, I didn't come back and have the airplane flying sideways like doing George's flying, so, you know. You take what you can get. Okay, so I got that all set up for the ILS Yankee. I was just going to search for what dual FAC fault's going to do for us here. So I'm just going to pull up the Airbus FCOM, go into abnormals and look up dual FAC fault, because I feel like dual FAC fault's going to lose the autopilot. I'm pretty sure. Procedures, abnormal. Can't find the FAC one fault right now. I think it would be under flight controls, but it's not. It's under auto flight. FAC 1 and 2 fault. Rudder with care above 160 knots, depending where the failure occurs. Rudder travel limiter system may not be in the correct position for the flight speed, therefore to prevent damage to the aircraft structure, use rudder with care with speed above 160 knots. That's the last full extension. Full rudder travel authority is recovered. When FAC 1 and 2 inoperative, the rudder travel limit system, rudder trim control, yaw damper, PFD characteristic speeds are lost. Associated procedures, flight control, alternate law, protections lost. Max speed 320 knots due to the loss of high speed protections, max speed with care. I feel like we do still have the autopilot though. In op systems, flight control protections, FAC 1 and 2. Oh, no, there it is. Autopilot 1 and 2. Yeah, we do lose the autopilot 1 and 2. So if we lose the other FAC, we lose FAC 2. We lose the autopilot and the auto thrust. Lose Cat 2 capabilities. Yeah, we lose a lot of stuff if we lose the autopilot, or if we lose the second FAC. It would be a manual landing, and when landing gear down, direct loft, we lose the other FAC. So here's hoping we don't lose the second FAC. 3442. We got to get close now, I think, here. Where are we here? This is us here, yeah. 3442. We're just entering his airspace now, so let's give him a call here. Center, good morning. JetBlue 2119, flight level 360.
JetBlue 2119, Houston Center, squawk 6625.
Squawk 6625, JetBlue 2119. 6625's in the box. Now we got some ATC.
JetBlue 2119, radar contact 33 miles east of Greene County, VOR flight level 360.
JetBlue 2119, thank you.
JetBlue 2119, descend via Monster 1 arrival, New Orleans altimeter 3008. You can expect the ILS approach, runway 20.
All right, JetBlue 2119, descend via the Monster 1 arrival. And we didn't see the ILS for runway 20, so we're set up for the RNAV Yankee 20.
Okay, that works. You can expect the RNAV Yankee 20, JetBlue 2119.
JetBlue 2119, thank you. We have information, Charlie. All right. He has no problem with us doing the RNAV Yankee because, yeah, there's a LOC. There's not really an ILS. A LOC is not an ILS. A LOC is half an ILS. And a LOC is even more work than an RNAV because then you got to do manual FPA. I just don't want to do that manual FPA approach until I get my FCU. When I get my FCU, I'll do more FPA approach.
4385 Houston Center.
It's one of those things where, like, you could do it, but of all the approaches we do, it's probably one of the higher risk approaches. Just because you're kind of manually relying on setting the correct angle at the correct moment. Oh, there you go.
Approaching Miami.
It's Mobile right there.
Miami Center is offline. Monitor Unicom, have a good flight.
That's the downtown Mobile airport right there, and I know that because I've done a couple flights out
Canadian
there.
Express 512, fly runway heading, runway 22 right, clear for takeoff.
That's the location.
Fly
of
runway
the
heading 22
Airbus,
right, clear for takeoff.
America
Express
plant.
512.
So that's where Airbus builds their 220s, I think, for Delta Airlines and for the American market. The Airbus 220 is the C series. It's built in that plant down there, which is pretty awesome. It's a pretty small little airport, but it's a nice little spot right there, right along the water. Probably makes it really easy to ship parts of the aircraft there by boat if necessary, because moving aircraft parts by air is expensive. It's one of those things where you'll do it if you have to, but you'd rather do it by boat. You know, you can save a lot of money on the cost of shipping it, and Airbus has done that. A lot of their factories are near the waterline because they would like to ship parts by boat if they can. It's a lot more cost effective. It's also one of the only other modes of transport that can really take large bulky items in for transport. Like road transport, you're really kind of limited where you can transport stuff by road when you're getting talking about
Number 23 Kilo Alpha, Fort Worth Center offline, monitor Unicom, have a good flight.
They do it. They make it work in certain areas. You got to close off roads, get flagging, and it probably costs a fortune. Easier to just ship it on a boat. You can get a huge boat, ship multiple pieces on there. You can load them in the aircraft too, and they have their Beluga aircraft, but again, that's still much more expensive. You know, operating an airplane versus operating a boat for shipping a large item is going to cost you a lot more.
United 543 RNF taps,
line
runway
going,
15 right, clear for takeoff.
that's worth even more. But if you can avoid that altogether, it's even easier. All right, I'm excited. We're almost there. We're almost down to New Orleans. I wonder if GSX will work when we get there. Just want to find out. See if it loads now. I feel like it's not going to load. I feel like something got glitchy with SIM Connect, and GSX is not going to load. No, it's not going to load. We're going to just park ourselves at Charlie 1. So sometimes you got to roll with it in Sim World. As much as it's not entirely realistic, and that's kind of my benchmark. What I'm going for is I'm trying to have a realistic airline operation here. Some days it just doesn't work for you, and you just gotta just go with it. As long as we can at least keep the stream going here, that's the biggest thing to me. Is let's keep the stream going, and then beyond that, you know. Let's see here, and then beyond that, if we can try and make it as realistic as possible, I'm trying to take a realistic mentality with it. Sometimes you just got to roll with what the sim throws at you. It doesn't always agree. It doesn't always work nicely. You just roll with it.
Houston traffic. Houston Center, UPS 320, heavy flight level 340.
Here's an interesting bit of news now. Thinking about UPS there. Trying to call.
UPS 320, Houston Center, squawk 3724.
The cargo airlines in America are really struggling. They really kind of came out all guns firing during the pandemic when people were shipping stuff like crazy. Amazon was shipping
3724 for UPS 327.
And they thought that the good times were going to last forever. And then now they've actually turned around, and both of the major cargo airlines are looking at
UPS
potentially
320
laying off
Heavy,
pilots.
radar contact 65 miles southeast of Alexandria, VOR,
They're
maintain
looking
flight
at,
level 340.
They're looking at retirement packages. They're looking at retirement
Maintain
buyout
flight level
packages
340, UPS 326.
because they don't have enough. Most of the pilots working for the cargo airlines now are flying the bare minimum, which is funny because the passenger airlines is the opposite. They can't get enough pilots in the door of passenger
Express
airlines.
512, radar contact, say altitude.
Is going through 2900.
Heading Express 512, turn left, heading 030, climb and maintain, flight level 350.
Left to 030, climb and maintain flight level 350, connect Express 512.
Yeah, the passenger airlines can't attract enough pilots, and the cargo airlines are looking at layoffs over the next year or so. They're trying to avoid it. They're trying to do buyouts. They've got everyone flying the minimum number of hours every month to try and keep everyone flying. But they're looking at potentially laying people off, which is crazy because right now the airline travel is still kind of booming. The recession is not really hitting air travel at this point. It's hitting other spending items, I think, but not travel so much. Not that it is a recession yet, though. We're kind of bearing down on one. But but the cargo airlines, they see a recession already. The amount of the cargo freight volumes have gone way down. The freight revenues are way down, so they're looking at laying off pilots. And it's funny because, like I said, like the passenger airlines, some of them are desperate for pilots. So I think it was FedEx that had said that they were looking at potential layoffs for their pilots, and I believe it was Piedmont. I think it was Piedmont came along and said, "We will hire any of you that want to come work for us. We'll pay you a $250,000 signing bonus to come work for us. You'll probably be a captain inside of 6 months." And
JetBlue 2119, I gave you the descent via, correct?
JetBlue 2119 you did, and we're about to start down about the next 3 miles.
Okay, just checking, thanks. Canada Express 512, when able, direct
Good
Macomb.
enough. Here's 11,000, so there's mock descent all blue.
$512.
$250,000 signing bonus, plus they'll be captains probably inside of a year because these guys are coming out of FedEx. They have years of experience flying heavy airliners and guaranteed flow through to the parent company. They're really trying to attract anybody that they think they can get in the door, and certainly a guy staring at a pink slip from UPS, he may not, or from FedEx, he may not have all that many hours because he's at the bottom of the list if he's staring at the pink slip. But yeah, they are looking at trying to recruit some of these guys, and good luck to them. And it's good to see that at least if you get out of one place, hopefully you'll get into the next. Yeah, it's intriguing anyways. Because it's funny, like we just recalled everybody. Like the cargo airlines, I don't think ever did layoffs, but all the passenger airlines, they recalled everybody, and they're turning over every rock they can think of to try and find more pilots. And then here we are. Now the cargo airlines are looking at, we might have to lay some of you off. We do not have enough hours. We're not seeing enough volumes.
Air Force 14, Houston Center.
Which is just
hello,
crazy.
still don't see a flight plan for you.
How you have kind of two opposite sides of the industry right now. One is really still doing gangbusters. The airlines, the low-cost carriers are starting to struggle a little bit, but the mainline legacy airlines are just going and going and going. They just, there's no sign of trouble yet. That being said, I think it would be naive to think that there will never be any trouble. I think it would be prudent for everybody to plan on there being trouble and potentially some cutbacks in flying, schedule reductions, etc. If the recession does start to last a little bit longer. A lot of the economists are saying we are going to go into recession, and it's all basically just an effort to stop the runaway inflation. It's not that pretty much the only way to stop inflation is to have a recession. It's the only way that inflation stopped in the past is to have at least a recession, a minor recession, and that's kind of what most of the central banks are going for. Is they want to induce a slight recession so that the inflation
Air
comes
Force
back
14 Houston Center, got it now, squawk 2660.
People start spending money on less on these on things. It changes the equation anyways. It's a little bit unfortunate. I don't want anyone to lose their job per se or anything, but that's I don't think inflation that has run away as much as it did in the last 2 years has ever been tamed without triggering some kind of recession. That being said, we also
United
have years more.
543, if I didn't get to you, radar contact, stay altitude
where
leaving.
they didn't really understand the issues with money supply, interest rates, and things like that.
543, thanks. Climb under
Now
restricted flight level 350.
There's a much better understanding of correlation. So hopefully, you know, the steps that are taken are the smallest steps that are necessary.
Air Force 14, radar contact, 9 miles northwest of Junction, VOR. Descend and maintain flight level 450.
Decade-long depression trying to fight off inflation is just like, okay, we're gonna need a little sting. It's gonna hurt a little bit. Hopefully it won't be long-lived. Hopefully it'll be short enough lived that a lot of companies won't lay people off. They'll just cut back hours, cut back expenses for a little while, and then be ready to go. Because one thing the airlines learn too is that, like, when you cut way back and you lay a lot of people off, it takes a long time to get everybody back up and running. It's taken the better part of 2 years to get everybody back up and running in this business. And now, of course, now we're going gangbusters. We can't train fast enough. But it took a while to get to this point. It definitely did. I certainly hope nobody gets laid off, but I hope that if that happens to the guys at FedEx and UPS, that they turn around and are able to find jobs in the passenger industry just as quickly. It's a shame to lose seniority, and nobody wants to hop out of a company and lose seniority. But if you're laid off, you're technically allowed. You know, you're not technically You're technically not working for a company. You're fired with cause and with the ability to be recalled. There's nothing that prevents you from going out there and working for another company, and that's what happened to a lot of guys did during COVID. Was when a lot of people got laid off, they would keep the layoff, but then they would go work at another company, and it's, you know, making some money is better than making no money, but you still keep your seniority number at the old company, and then as long as you're ready to come back when they recall you. Now, if you don't come back when you're recalled, then you're fired, then you lose your job altogether. So I don't think anyone wants that, but you know, if it's a temporary glitch where maybe, you know, a year or so, and then the cargo industry will start recovering and the airlines will start recalling everybody that they laid off, most people can, you know, kind of make it for that length of time. They can find another job, even maybe want to add on to the industry, but there's lots of regionals that are still desperate for pilots. You can go and even just for 6 months or a year work at a regional, make some money. It's not going to be as much as you're making at FedEx or UPS, but make some money. Yeah, you'll do all right anyways, and you'll still be ready and eligible to come back when the time comes. All right, I totally forget what he said the altimeter setting was. So checking the ATIS, it was 3008. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do that now. It's almost what it was when we left New York. 3008 inches set.
3008 set. Passing 17,700. Now.
Whoa, she was a little panicky about that now. You alright there? A little panic attack? Artificial voices, they don't sound half bad, and they're definitely usable, but they grate against me a little bit. All the time in training programs at my work. And most of the time they're okay, but then you occasionally reach some odd jargon word halfway along, and all of a sudden you trip over the jargon word, and you're like,
Central aircraft, ATIS Yankee, current at Intercontinental, altimeter 29906. ATIS Quebec, current at Houston Hobby, altimeter 29906.
Or instead of VAP, they'll just say VAP. VAP 136. It's like, I know you're just typing it in, and it's just, that's what's spitting out, but sometimes it makes it feel awkward, to say the least.
Center Southwest 2930, request to step away for about 5 Mike.
I'm guessing it's hard, though. I'm
Southwest
guessing it's hard for a
2930,
lot of these
report
companies
back.
to find people who are willing to
We'll go
volunteer. Like, hey,
Southwest
do you want to
2930.
have your voice recorded and played back to everybody else in the company? Sign me up. I guess it's probably hard for a lot of these companies to find people like that. I guess it really is, but all of these artificial voices in the training. And it's like you listen to them for hours too, and so you start to all these little misspeaks that they don't speak the jargon and the acronyms properly. You really start to they start to grate on you after a while. They really do. All right, we're almost down. I never checked this the whole time, but there's that. Yeah, we are tracking. It does know we're almost there. It's a little bit late if it wasn't. All right. Speed, Alt Star. And there's the decel to 250. And by now the TAT is plus 28. I don't think we need the anti-ice. It's 26 degrees on the surface. Here it is at
JetBlue
11,000
2119, clear direct Snaky, descend and maintain 4,000.
Direct Snaky, descend 4,000 to JetBlue 2119. Alright, there's Snaky.
JetBlue 2119, clear to RNAV GPS Yankee, runway 20 approach.
JetBlue 2119 cleared the RNAV Yankee runway 20 Snaky transition. Alright, and because, oh, so silly. So because I went direct, it no longer had the decel waypoint in there, so there's 250. Open descent down to 4,000. Let's see how this is going to look here. I think we're going to be okay. We're going to level off at 4,000 just before Ray-Op, and I believe that's what we needed, was 4,000. RNAV Yankee 20. Was Ray-Op 4,000. Yeah, perfect. So looking good. We level off at Ray-Op just before Ray-Op at 4,000 with room to decelerate. That'll be good. And actually I see a green dot there now. It knows, it's figured out the path calculations for us to be on this path. So we're going to go in descent mode. Approach checklist.
Barrel ref.
3008 inches. .3008 inches set.
3008 set. Seat belts.
On.
Minimum.
325 feet set.
Auto brake.
Medium. Armed.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Approach checklist completed.
Perfect. Love it. Alright, hopefully no FSLTL traffic gets in my way here. I'm ready to kill the FSLTL altogether if it starts to get in my way here. I might just bring this up so I do have an FSLTL menu that I can have in the sim and just have it hidden but ready to go. Get up the IFR flight limit now. Always hit remove nearby traffic. So I'm going to hide this back here, but it'll be ready to go. Another threat mitigated. It'll be ready to go if traffic shows up in my way at all. Alright, so we got a deceleration waypoint there for the activation of the approach. So we got to go Ray-Op 4,000. Once we're inside Ray-Op, we go down to 2,000. We can arm approach mode when we're inside Ray-Op. You can't arm approach mode in the Airbus until you're inbound to the point where the final descent actually starts. So you see the coded -3 degrees here. It's only from JASPO to KMSY. So we can't arm approach mode until we are actually inbound to JASPO. If you saw the -3 degrees from Ray-Op to JASPO and then as well as JASPO down to the runway, you could arm it on the way into Ray-Op. Because we don't see it now, we've just got to descend in nav and manage descent mode. Alright, so temperature's still good for the weather there. Times 24. No more failures. They always sound so excited to be done with the checklists. They sound so excited all the time, really. Doesn't sound like there's a lot of traffic in New Orleans today, though. I haven't looked, but I think we're like the only ones. Yeah, I think we're it. Somebody's got to go to this airport. It's kind of a good thing I have the FSLTL on since there will be no VATSIM traffic. There's a controller, but no VATSIM traffic. Alright, the screen's looking a little bright now, but I'm just going to wait to see when we break on the bottom here shortly. More normal once we break on the bottom again. Alright, so here comes the deceleration waypoint, and I think we're already in approach mode. Yep. So speed is managed. Start to let it decelerate here. Hopefully it'll figure itself out in time, but it's got a plan. It had a plan anyways to start decelerating at this point, so long as we deploy flaps and everything at the appropriate time, it should be okay.
Canada Express 512, you're leaving my airspace. Meant the center is offline. Monitor Unicom, have a good flight.
122.8 for Canada Express 512. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Alright.
Center Southwest 2930, back with you.
Thank you.
Perfect. We got it below the flaps 1 speed on its own without even needing to help it along too much here. Here comes a turn at Rayop. Right now that's 5,000 descending 4,000.
Avianca 4385 going to Miami. You are very far outside of my airspace. Monitor Unicom.
Once Jaspo is the 2 waypoint here, which is going to happen in just a second. Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
Good down to 2,000. 2,000 feet is set. Just switch there, and we can arm approach mode, and there we go. We got speed, we got final lap. Beautiful.
Air Force
There's
14, do you have an approach request at Navy Corpus?
Perfect. Love it. Transitioned nicely on there. Hopefully it decelerates on its own a little bit here. It's doing it very slowly. I might need to help it, but I think it's going to make it. Let's try it and see.
Yep, absolutely.
Right.
You'll be able to get the visual. I was
Status,
just
remove status,
making sure you
remove
didn't have a special approach request. You can expect the visual approach, Air Force 14.
I don't know, it might need some help here. She's having a hard time decelerating. Alright, give her a little bit of help here. The trouble with flaps 1 in the Airbus is it's slats only and no flaps. So on the approach, it increases your drag slightly, but it really doesn't give you a big drag increase. Once you get flaps 2, then you get the drag increase. Flaps 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
2,500.
Gear down.
Radar altimeter alive. Gear down. Cabin crew be seated for
Jasper.
landing.
2,300, Mr. Approach altitude 2,000 feet set. There. We're actually okay. We're coming up the FAF and I don't even have flaps 2. I get a little worried, but that was pretty good. So it looks like FSLTL has some traffic. But they departed. Alright, that's okay. As long as nobody takes off on runway 20 right towards us, then I have to delete out of the system. It will be fine. We're looking good. Looking good. There's downtown New Orleans way over there. Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Flaps full.
Speed checked. Flaps full.
Landing checklist.
ECAM memo.
Landing, no blue. Landing, no blue.
Landing checklist completed.
Thank you.
1,000.
Air Force 14, descend at pilots disregard. Air Force 14, descend at pilot's discretion, maintain 15,000, the Corpus altimeter 29903.
That's off. JetBlue 2119, 2 miles final.
JetBlue 2119, sorry about that. Runway 20, clear to land.
Yeah, you got a big space to work. Clear to land 20, JetBlue 2119, thanks. Yep. You get a lot of sympathy from me about being a center controller. lot of space to work.
Sending you guys 543, we're back.
Lose track of something that happens.
Thank you.
Happening once in a while. I get it.
Sync rate.
100 above.
Why are we going down so fast? Why are we sinking here?
Minimum.
Continue. Gotta back on the slope. Gotta get back on the center line now. I have to let the pilot fly.
JetBlue 2097 leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved. Have a good flight.
100. 50.
Yep.
40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
Barely even felt like we touched the ground there, didn't it?
Spoilers.
Feels like it's
Reverse
slow.
green. Decil. 70 knots.
Feel like 70 knots. For some reason it feels really slow. Alright, manual braking. I don't know why. She feels like she's very sluggish here. Yeah, it does look super slow, doesn't it? I thought it
Southwest
felt
2930, descend via Willie 7, arrival landing south, Austin, altimeter 29904.
2994, Willie 7, we'll descend via that, arrival, Southwest 2930.
JetBlue 2119 clear on Echo going to gate Charlie 1.
JetBlue 2119, taxi to park via Sierra Golf, cross runway 11.
Sierra Golf, cross runway 11. Thanks, JetBlue 2119. Have a great day.
You as well, see ya.
Alright, so this is Sierra here, left turn on Golf, going to gate Charlie 1. Retract the spoilers, I'm pretty sure that triggers her to do her after landings. Clear left. FO does not look impressed. She never looks impressed. George did not look impressed with anything I ever did either. It's any consolation. Alright, but we made it. GSX is not going to be waiting for us at the gate. We're going to have to just self-marshal into the gate.
This is the conclusion of
Sometimes
our
that's what
flight.
happens.
Please remain seated with your
After
seatbelt
landing
fastened
checklist.
until the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign and the aircraft is parked safely at the gate. This will be your indication it is safe
Radar
to move
and
about
predictive
the cabin.
wind shear system.
Gather your belongings and disembark.
Off.
We'd like to thank you for flying with us
After
today.
landing checklist completed.
We appreciate your business and hope to see you again on a future flight.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just the headwind and the ground speed mini, but it felt like, yeah, it was awfully slow on final there. I don't actually have my frame rate counter up, but it felt slow. But even if the frame rate's dropping off, unlike X-Plane, MSFS doesn't slow down, it just simply skips. X-Plane just sort of slows down and dilates time, drags it out, but MSFS just skips. If a frame won't draw in time, it just skips to another frame. So, you know, I think it was just a little bit of a factor of just the amount of headwind we had, I think, more than anything. I think, I don't know, because it did. It felt oddly slow on that approach, didn't it? We were just all getting more zen with the Airbus as time goes on. It's just completely just in tune with the Airbus. Alright, Charlie 1's the last gate on the right. Welcome to the Latin VFR New Orleans with the brand new terminal. So this is the brand new terminal that was inaugurated, like, I think 2 years ago. I haven't been to New Orleans now in about probably 4 years. I think pre-COVID anyways. Since no, don't push in front of me, you poop. Okay, I think he sensed I'm coming and he stopped. I love it. Alright. AP's up and running. Good. Awesome. Oh, he's just going to taxi out from there. Okay. Well, whatever. However you want to handle it, buddy. Alright, so there's the gate. Oh, maybe we have some default MSFS marshalling here. Oh, wacky. What are the odds of that? That it actually picked the gate that I wanted to marshal us in. Oh, it's actually coming up all us. Hooray! Alright, so anti-ice is off, AP bleed is on, lights are off, parking brake accumulator is good, the weather radar is rechecked as off. Wow, we actually have marshaller. Crazy. Not what I was expecting. Nice little side benefit, but not what I was expecting. Alright, where you bring me, buddy? How much closer do you need me? About to lose you here. Can I just stop there then? I guess so, because the bridge is already moving on its own.
Houston Center stepping away for 5 minutes. Be right back, guys.
And the door opened, even though I didn't even set the parking brake yet. I love it. Thanks, MSFS. Alright, parking brake is set. APU is available. Submit your flight, thank you. Marshall saying I just want to end, yeah. Alright, that's all off. We haven't even disarmed the slides. The slide popped. Okay, now they should be disarming the slides. They may not do it now because they might have gotten it out of sync here. But with the door being open already, but... Alright, so I call the cabin crew and warn them. The slides are not showing disarmed. Yeah, I think the fact that the door popped so early. Interesting. Alright, anyway, do all that. Did I forget to do seatbelts? I did forget to do seatbelts. Yeah, beacon. I started going to FO stuff instead of captain stuff. Alright, and so we need to just check the wheel temperatures. Yeah, they got pretty warm. It's actually not bad considering. But it did. It seemed like we were not really going on the runway that fast. The headwind must have been stronger than the forecast. There, the doors. There. Now it's all disarmed. And data position monitor. Let's see how badly it drifted here. 2.4. The max you can have is 5. Once you get to flights over about 2 to 3 hours in length, the number goes up even higher. So that's fine. So 2.6 is fine. All right. Welcome to New Orleans, everybody. We made it. And that's not that far. I don't think GSX is going to help me out here. I don't think they're going to do an offload for me, and that's fine. I am willing to accept that today. There's something weird going on today with that, with SimConnect overall. So I wouldn't want to try another flight at this point. I would want to reset the sim. But anywho, we did finish it. We got here to New Orleans. So let's just have a quick little look-see here. Submit flight. And it's done. Ready for the leg back. So the next leg we're going to do is going to be New Orleans back to JFK. Now when we do this, I don't know, because this is the last week of this month that I have a lot of days off. After this, my days off become a lot more sporadic and a lot less put together. So I may not even have time for the whole rest of the month to do another stream. I will try. I will try to squeeze something in. But this is still going to be about another what are we at, 3.5 hours now? Yeah, it's probably going to be about a 3.5 hour live stream for the return leg as well. So I don't expect to have time to do this anytime soon. I hope. Let's see here, friends of mine, Rob Baker, Pablo Abru, Jen Ripke, Anonymous, and Eddie Johan. These are all people in my friends community here, but so I don't know when we're going to get that next leg done, but we'll keep trying. But at some point, hopefully it's going to work out. We'll find time to do that leg back. So keep an eye on my Discord, and I will post the schedule when I figure it out. But after that, then we just have a Tampa turn out of JFK. 875 miles, relatively short turn. I'm hoping that maybe I can do like evening stream for these, because it'll be about a 2-hour flight, give or take. So that's reasonable.
Alright, Houston is back. Air Force 14, descend and maintain 3000.
I may or may not try to get those done.
Are you direct to the airport?
I'm just going to go back to Unicom so I don't have to listen to it anymore while I'm chatting. Yeah, but I'm hoping that we can do an evening stream and I can get a bunch of you guys so maybe we can do flights finally, get the crew flights going again, because it's been a little while. And then we'll be done with our first season of A Pilot's Life for JetBlue's season 11, and JetBlue's first season. And I definitely am planning a second season for JetBlue. There's just so much available with JetBlue, so many destinations. I think it's going to be, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer to do at least one more season with it. And the other side of that too is that with the Airbus, I am certainly hoping against hope that Fenix will have the 321 released sometime in the next, I don't know, 3 to 6 months anyways. I don't think they're going to have it by the end of the year, and I'm okay with that. But I'm hoping sometime maybe by you know, early next year anyways, they'll have it out. It's going to take me a while to get through these legs, but I would love to fly the 321. I think it's the best. I think it's the culmination of the entire Airbus family. I really like the 321, and I really want to fly it for you guys on stream. So, anywho, you're deplaning for beads, all right? Oh, you're deplaning. I get it for beads because we're in New Orleans. I get it. See, I'm a little slow, but I get there eventually. I think that's about it, though. Other than that, I don't think I have any friend requests, do I? Nope, friend requests. Nope, nobody else loves me. All of you guys that love me already are my friends here. But there's a lot of people still using the system here. 558,000 registered flights, over 1 million recorded hours, 9,300 pilots in total are signed up for Pilot's Life. Almost 10,000 pilots, and there's 339 currently going around the world. Like, it's not a bad system. People like it. It's a fun little system. I love the schedule generation. I love the challenge of doing these schedules, doing these realistic airline schedules. So it's going to take me a while to get to that next rank here. Still got another 2,800 experience points to go. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a couple of seasons because we only get about 100 experience points per flight. So another 28 flights, another 3 seasons almost before we get there. But salary income credited $159 for the flight back, 188 was what we got to Denver. So we are slowly building up our money again here. Bank balance up to $703. It's not terrible. Almost 300 hours in the airplane, 115 flights. I've been doing this for a long time, and I realize that I've been doing this for 4 years too. The first Pilot's Life season was back in 2019. I think it was October 2019. So it's now been a little over 4 years I've been streaming these Pilot's Life careers to you guys. I've enjoyed it. I think it's fun. I think it's great fun to show off how the airline industry works and to do my best to try and operate as realistically as I can all the time. Okay, give up. Give up. I'm not going any further forward. The GPU's on. The bridge is on. The edges are off. I'm not going anywhere, buddy. Give it up. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a good challenge to try and, you know, sort of maintain as realistic as possible an experience. It's not always great. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you got to sort of roll with what you've got, you know. Using the default marshalling and GSX didn't want to work after I tried to do the reset. Stuff happens. You do your best, you roll with it, and that's because that's what happens in aviation. Things happen, things go wrong, things don't go according to schedule, according to plan. You just roll with it. There's nothing more you can do, in all honesty. You just have to roll with it. So, anyways, that's enough for me for today, guys. I hope you had a fun day. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you guys all on the next stream, whenever it happens to be. I promise we'll try and get it done whenever we can, but when it's going to be, I don't really know right now. So, anyways, thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you all on the next stream, and we'll see you all out there on the VATSIM network. Take care.